Welcome to Wednesday, June 24th, 2026 meeting. Please silence your cell phones, pagers, and other electronic communication devices. Agendas and speaker request forms are located at the back of the chambers, so we'll call to order. Gary had to go to Pier for some, I think, GOP meetings or something, and so he's gone today. And then, so we'll start with the prayer, and I'll lead us in a moment of silence, and then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And this morning, we're going to start off with the court system with Judge Heidi Linngren and Liz Hassett. Thank you, ladies. We know you guys are busy.
Good morning.
The law enforcement, those types of case drawings. But what I wanted to visit with you about this morning, just in reviewing that, is since I've become presiding judge in December of last year, and having been in the system in one form or another, I was a defense attorney, I was a prosecutor, I was a magistrate judge, and I have been a circuit judge for the last 10 years. My goal and my essence essentially is to try to work smarter and not harder. And something that I have looked at pretty seriously, and I'm in the talks and the process of doing, is working really hard on calendars and schedules and consolidation. Those are kind of my three main themes. Having been a magistrate judge, having practiced in magistrate court, one of my recognition has been that I don't think our calendar is very effective. I don't think we use the best resources that we have. That's not to suggest that anybody historically was doing anything wrong. We just need to evolve with what our numbers are. What might have worked in 1990 doesn't still work in 2026. So I've been working one of the things that I did, for example, is I kept one of the magistrates back from traveling down to Hot Springs and Custer. The circuit judges have absorbed the magistrate work in Custer and Fall River so that the magistrates are all four available. We're working on having certain blocks. I believe they're going to start August 1st, where it's just traffic ticket blocks. One for the public who get a traffic ticket. It's going to be a lot more efficient, in my view, than sitting, for that hour and a half until your traffic ticket is called. But a lot of those cases go through diversion, or a lot of those cases, get some type of resolve by way of negotiation. That gives everybody some time to work through those cases. The other thing that I worked pretty hard on is making certain that the circuit judges and the magistrate judges were on board. We see a lot of people who have cases in circuit court, and then they also have cases in magistrate court. Some people might have as many as 15 cases at once, but they're in two different courtrooms. So although the circuit judges certainly don't have to take those magistrate files, we have worked a pretty good system, in my opinion, to get a lot of those magistrate files up with the circuit files so that they're all together, so that one judge has the ability to hear all of the cases, particularly when some type of deal or negotiation is made. We've seen so far, I don't have numbers to give you because I would like to have more time to do that, but I think we've seen a decrease in failures to appear, because if I have court with Judge Linngren, on this day for my felony matter, but I've got these tickets in front of 4 different magistrates, and I get mixed up on where I'm supposed to be on any given day. And so I think some of these people, by putting them in front of one person has helped. I haven't been doing this long enough to be able to give you some hard numbers, but I think we've seen some adjustments there. I know that I shared with you our felony dispo docket that I think will alleviate a lot of pressure off of the circuit dockets to handle just certain Class 5 and Class 6 felonies, which will reduce, I think, time and attorneys' fees, hopefully, and just sitting and waiting for status hearings, that there's actual work that's getting done up front, whether it's the alternative courts being present at those hearings, probation being present, the diversion folks being present. So although these are things that are in the works, I'm very anxious to be able to present to you also next year that maybe we've seen some improvements. But I just personally wanted to let you know of the things that I'm working on to try to essentially work smarter and not harder, and cast some efficiency so that I can't guarantee it'll cut down on attorney's fees because that's, kind of based on the filings, but I have noticed and I have paid quite a bit of attention of, sitting for an hour, 2 hours, waiting for a hearing to just get another court date. So I'm trying to figure out some ways to expedite that. And those are some examples that I can give you of what we're currently trying with the court. So our numbers kind of speak for themselves because they're a little bit contingent on what other departments' numbers are, but those are the things that we're actively working on to try to find some efficiency. And I would defer to any questions you may have.
No, we greatly appreciate that because we had the state's attorney and we had the prosecuting attorneys and the defense attorneys here yesterday, and we're all talking about it. And everybody's excited about you making some moves and streamlining everything. And they did talk about, people that they were supposed to be in 2 or 3 different places at one time, and it caused chaos. So.
And we're trying to extend a little bit of that too to overlap. I haven't been able to start that process, but a few years back, when Judge Fifley was the presiding judge, I became the first judge. I took the abuse and neglect docket and the juvenile docket together, and that was all I did for 3 years, and that's become a rotation that we've built and developed so that you saw a lot of overlap with some of the family issues and family dynamics. I think we can even take that one step further because some of the criminal cases overlap with that to try to even reduce some of the court dates further, but I haven't quite gotten there. It's just part of my vision.
That's awesome.
Anybody have any questions?
Commissioner Durr is pulling his mic forward, so.
Yeah. So Judge Linngren, in 5 minutes, you gave the best presentation I've seen as a commissioner.
I talk really fast.
One that we've been wanting to hear for a long time because.
No, I'm not. No, I'm just talking about how you've, you look at something, you analyze a process, and you say, let's give this a shot, let's try this, and let's see if we can make these tweaks, and let's make these things. And they all, they're also common sense to a certain degree, but they're also intuitive in another way. And just trying to utilize the assets that you have in the best manner that you have. And again, out of all of this, who's going to benefit the people we serve? And so without a fancy presentation and, a PowerPoint slide and videos, in 5 minutes, you've given the best presentation that I've seen in many years, explaining how you're in charge of something and what you're going to do with your team to try to work on it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. We are working pretty hard. Sometimes, as everybody knows, change is scary for people, and we have to do it in increments. Involves the clerk's office and some
Right.
hard work on their part, but they've really come to the table and stepped up, and I appreciate that. We've had some hard discussions. We've had some kind of heated discussions. Sometimes people want to stay in the same place that we've been because it's comfortable, but
Right.
I'm also of the opinion that if something doesn't work, we'll go back and try to change it too. But if you don't sit down at the table and start talking about things, there's nothing that's ever going to change. So
It's awesome, and we're here to help you. So anything that we can do, just reach out to Jordan, and he'll make sure we get you the tools you guys need. So, it's been long overdue, so.
I appreciate it, and I always say too, certainly thank you, Chairman Rosknecht, for your years of service. And but anybody who wants to come and spend a day in the life of the court, I'd be happy to give you a taste of that.
On the, just watching, not participating.
Well, true. I didn't mean to put you
I've
in
been
that
trying to
docket.
get him arrested for 2 days now. so.
Happy to watch you, or happy to have you watch it. But I appreciate everything you do.
But,
And
and I know
Mr.
you guys
Chair.
are busy, so if that's it, you're free to go.
thank you.
Heidi, I like your.
I'm sorry, we got one more
No,
question.
I just want to say I like your philosophy. Work smarter and not harder. So I'm going to have to try to practice in my daily life that philosophy. And anyhow, you're absolutely right. Things are not the same in 2026 as they were in 1990s. So there again, we just have to bring things up to current standards. Thank you for your service, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
That's awesome. All right, next up for bids is Brittney. You're here, Miss Brittney. Planning, Miss Brittney, you have the floor.
All right. Good morning, Commissioners. I'll just go through this super quick, just to give you guys kind of an update of where we're at.
You have more than 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Just a couple of things. Our budget request is a little over $1 million. We're going to maintain our current service levels. We're not asking for any new positions, no capital requests, and we just want to have continued investment in our technology modernization. Again, we want to just guide responsible growth and development, protect quality of life and property rights, provide planning, permitting, inspection, and development services, and support our citizens, businesses, developers, and elected officials in the process. Obviously, you know, our core services, planning and comprehensive zoning, building permits, subdivision, floodplain, stormwater and MS4, GIS, and code enforcement. Currently, we have 9 full-time employees and 2 part-time employees, so we're not asking for any staff increases. We just want to focus on retention and succession planning. We just want to do more with what we have. So our personnel still remains the largest expenditure. Our operational costs are going to remain stable. The software implementation costs are going to decline because we did have the implementation of Tyler, but we will have that yearly expense. The overall budget is reduced. So just for our software and technology, just to give an idea, it's about $48,000. That does the Tyler, which is our development review software, permit tracking, our TCP, and this is for public transparency and increased efficiency and reduced paper and paperwork in the office. We just want to modernize our processes and be more upfront with the citizens so they can apply for building permits online, so we can streamline some of those processes, especially for those that don't live in the area. They can do it online and not have to come into the office. So we just had, you know, we're just seeing a steady increase in single-family residences. And I guess the biggest change is we did have a little bit increase in our personnel changes. We did have a couple, some turnover. So we did have some promotions and a reclassification. And with that, we had some change in insurance. So with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. I guess Commissioner Rosknecht, do you have a question?
No, my only question would be, some of these planning and zoning commission meetings, they're getting down to less than 15 minutes, and I'm just wondering where that trend's going.
Sure. So a lot of our processes have gone more administrative. So the CUPs and things like that have become more administrative. We used to have a ton of conditional use permit reviews, and we would review things over and over and over. And so now we've gone to those as being on complaint basis only. So we're not reviewing the same thing over and over and over. And so we can focus on other things and be more efficient in the office. So our building permits, we're seeing our building permits go up pretty significantly. So.
Okay, well, thank you. Appreciate that.
Commissioner Durr, did you have any questions?
I mean, excuse me, I'm just looking at your operational costs, which are, you know, really pretty minimal. The question I have, I'm going to ask every department. I've asked Jordan and Kenner, and we have it already, but to go out and get a handle on our fleet. So it was brought up yesterday that Equalization Office has a vehicle for every assessor. They get a new vehicle every year, and I'm not keen on that. So anyway, the question for you is, how do you guys manage your fleet? How many vehicles do you have, et cetera?
So we have 6 vehicles. 2 of them were hand-me-down vehicles from Highway. One of them was a hand-me-down vehicle from the fire administration. We got his Tahoe. Most of our vehicles are all 10 plus years old. So we just keep maintenance on them, and they're pretty low.
So not everybody has an assigned vehicle. It's just kind of like a pool vehicle that everybody uses?
Correct.
All right.
Correct. We have some vehicles like our, one of our planners that focuses on septic inspections. He has a little pickup truck because he has some other equipment in there that's more specialized for his inspections. But other than that, it's just whatever vehicle's available, and it depends on where you're going sometimes, depending upon what you need. So.
Yeah. I could see why no one would want to use a septic vehicle.
Yes.
So.
Not touching that one.
Anyway, but I did ask, talk to Jordan and Kenner this morning after Equalization came forward. It kind of slid by me last year that they get a new vehicle every year and that everybody has an assigned vehicle. And we're trying to get a handle on the fleet management. This was talked about last year. And then it just came up that the sheriff's office had a vehicle, that's a 2024 vehicle that was in an accident, and then they found out it was never on our insurance, which was handled by our previous risk manager. So we're doing an inventory on the vehicles to make sure, working with the sheriff's office now, they are, and our insurance provider, to make sure we have an accurate accounting of all the vehicles. But what is coming out of it is, just by when I looked at some of the stuff last year and hearing what I did yesterday, it sounds like we have a lot of vehicles that are assigned to employees and a lot of take-home vehicles. And I think we need to take a look at that. And then look at the level of coverage that we're having on the vehicles. Do we want liability? Do we want full coverage? That should be, a determination at this level, and I'm hearing it's individual determinations at department level. And then you can buy, like, if you don't want the comp, if you don't want full coverage on it, you can buy kind of a blanket policy for the fleet just to get like hail damage, et cetera. But so anyways, we go through the budget process. Last year, we, dug into personnel and like your operational costs are, compared to your personnel cost. Again, a lot of our departments are operating 90% personnel cost, 10% operational. And so these smaller departments in Brittney, and again, I saw it last year and I just watch. She runs a very tight ship financially. So.
At one point, we had a conversation about moving GIS into your department. Have we had that thought process again, now that we've made some changes? Do you think it makes sense still, or?
I do think, we definitely have the talent in our office, and we could have the talent. It could go either way. I know that with Trevor.
You guys use it more than the assessor's office does, though, right? Is that correct?
We use it for addressing. We use it for our future land use maps. We do all of our zoning and our comprehensive plan on GIS.
Okay.
So our addressing and things.
Okay. Well, no other questions?
Yeah, since you brought that up, Jordan, could you explain our agreement with the city for GIS?
Partly. So I have been looking into this over the last year, but just kind of sporadically when I have time. I've had a couple of conversations with the city because of the fact that we have a contract with them for GIS services. Now, what that entails is they pay for and they buy all of the licenses that we use for Esri's ArcGIS and stuff like that. So we have quite a few staff in the county that has access to the program that can access GIS shapefiles, create GIS shapefiles, and use GIS data. But the city's the one who purchases that, and then we pay them for the licenses for that, and also we pay them for the use of RapidMap. And so that is the county city, basically, GIS platform that they utilize to provide all that GIS information to the public. And so basically, it started back in the 90s. With a LIS task force, which is a Land Information System task force that still technically exists today, and it is supposed to be kind of evenly city-county with splitting costs and everything like that and trying to figure out best practices. But with the evolution throughout the 2000s of GIS in general, that kind of was pushed to the wayside, and it looks like the city has kind of taken charge on managing the GIS systems, and the county is just kind of utilizing a long-standing kind of verbal, not even written agreement as to how people compensate for that. And so right now we're in a bit of a limbo state because I don't have all the data for you guys to kind of explain our full use here in the county, because it's not just planning, it's not just equalization, it is elections. It's a lot of people who have shapefiles that the county maintains and that they need to maintain. And so we need to really get a full analysis of how we're utilizing it and what the cost would be if we wanted to try to maintain some sort of service here in-house. Highway also does quite a bit with GIS. And so we want to kind of look at that relationship for sure moving forward. Not ready to pull any cords or anything like that on this until we understand what the full scope's going to be. And we definitely don't want to get into a scenario where we're duplicating the efforts that the city's already doing with RapidMap, and we're trying to maintain our own public-facing platform. So there's still going to have to be, I think, some sort of relationship, because it does seem to work pretty well. in aspects, but then it may not be fully beneficial to the county to continue forward with the GIS system as it is. Does that make sense? Does that answer the question? Would
Yes.
you agree with that, Brittney?
Yes. They do support, so if we do have issues, the city does come over and they send staff over to help support.
I
So
think you guys have a good relationship back and forth.
Yeah.
we do.
So, thank you, Brittney, Miss Brittney. That's it. Now we have Mr. Scott. Mr. Scott, the man who does a lot with little.
I got a 20-slide presentation I'm gonna load up for you.
All right.
No presentation. Just held the line as per board direction, froze operations. Waiting for Jordan to fill in personnel, wherever it comes in at. One thing, I don't know if it was reflected, but I did bump our revenue by 40,000 projection, and that's from our fuels project that we're doing on the Blue Ridge Stewardship Partnership, or stewardship up there in the Sharon Lake area. So that money will be coming in next in 2027. So pretty good bump in that. And if you look, like last year, we underspent, but that was because we were short on our revenues because of the federal funding. We're seeing that federal funding coming back, so we should be getting our revenues back up. And then our revenues directly affect our seasonal staffing. It's related to workload and the number of seasonal staff. So this year, last year we had 1. This year we were looking to hire 3. We hired 3. 1 didn't work out and 1 didn't show up. So we're at 1 seasonal this year, and we're just rolling with that. We still have it advertised. We're just not getting applicants for the positions.
And why is that, do you think?
I don't know if we're low competition wise, compensation wise. It's 18 some an hour. I would think for a seasonal job, we should get some applicants, but like our seasonal enforcement one, I think that'd be a great job for somebody that's semi-retired or something. You know, it's 20 hours a week, flexible schedule, kind of come and go as the work gets done, and can't get anybody to apply for it. So
He's just walked in the door.
yeah, there we go.
Morning, Scott.
Morning, how you doing, Ron? I think it'd be great. Both jobs are great for school teachers if we could get that outreach to the schools,
Right.
maybe. You know, I've had school teachers in the past and they work great. So, great summer job for them. And then I don't know, Jordan, did you get our Title III funding put in there? I know we talked 20,000 in there for natural resources, and you were going to do your salary
Yes.
formulations. Okay.
Yep, yeah. It's not programmed in yet because, again, salaries, I'm still working on those. But yes, it will be plugged in for the Title III funding.
So we'll have 20,000 in there for Title III. They reapproved it, reallocated it, Congress did, and then they backloaded from 2024. So we have close to 80,000 in that Title III funding. So what we did this year, talked with Sheriff Mueller. We agreed to split it, so 20,000 in each department this year, so 40,000, then we'll have 40,000 next year. Because that's so hit and miss whether that gets approved and funded. So, and we got to have that allocated out by 2028. So we figured spend it half this year and then half next year.
Okay. So would you explain what, I mean, I know, but I'd like you to
Yep.
explain
So Title III.
what the funds can be used for.
Yeah, so it's pretty narrow. Special Title III, there's pretty strict sideboards on it. It's got to be spent on Black Hills National Forest land in the county. So for search and rescue, it's got to be search and rescue event that takes place on the Forest Service. And then they can apply for the reimbursement on those funds. For us, we can use it for fuels work, fuel breaks, stuff like that. So we can actually use it on the ground and immediately get. So that's a known cost. Fire, same way. It's got to be a fire event on the Black Hills National Forest that the county responds to, and then they can submit
and get reimbursed on that. So search and rescue and fire, it's got to be an event that takes place. Us, it's a known given. We just work with the Forest Service saying, hey, we got this money. A lot of times we can leverage additional money from the Forest Service on when we put money in, that a lot of times they'll match. So ours is kind of a given. The other two are event related.
All right, and then, yeah, go back and explain what Title III funds are.
So Title III funds, Title I, II, and III funds come from, we're set up for counties that have a lot of federal lands, Forest Service lands in their properties or within their boundaries. And it's almost like PILT dollars. But what it is an average of timber sale receipts within like a 5-year period. And then they give you, the counties, a percentage of that. Title I's used for schools and roads. Title II goes to the Forest Service. They set up a resource advisory committee, and then counties can apply and other organizations apply for those fundings as projects that take place on the Forest Service. So we've used those in the past for fuels work and also for noxious weed spraying. So there's a pretty good fund building up in that Title II. I know they're working on getting that RAC established so they can grant out those dollars. So hopefully we'll be seeing those coming. Projects will be, hopefully this fall, be asking for projects and then put on the ground, hopefully for 2027 or 2028.
Mr. Chair, so Scott, 10 years ago, your Title III would have been probably a little bit more, a lot more
Yep.
timber activity?
Yep.
So it's just not a stable number. You never know what it's going to be.
Yep. Pine Beetle took a bite into that. We really ramped up cutting, so less harvest on the forest, and then also price of lumber was higher back then. It's kind of gone down, but yep.
Are you guys doing a lot of cutting right now, or?
Not, we save that for right now. We're noxious weed spraying, and then come October, November, we'll get the chainsaws out and we cut through the winter into like April, and then we switch over.
What do you guys, burn it then, or what do you do?
What's that?
What do you do with the trees and stuff?
If there's merchantable timber there, we'll sell it to, a lot of times, Nyman Timber will buy it. Yep. If it's merchantable, we sell it. Yep. Yep.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Scott, on your budget, could you explain what you use those dollars for under infrastructure?
Infrastructure. Guess I'm not seeing infrastructure where.
60,000.
The specific line
Oh,
item to
that's
help you.
for equipment
Yeah.
or vehicle replacement is what it is.
Could we rename that?
The category is,
Is it,
Yeah.
so I'm assuming there's a subcategory down below that?
I think it's inappropriately placed in the general ledger for that one, because this is machinery and equipment, as you can see right on this overall spreadsheet. It should be in the 434, which is machinery and equipment, and instead it landed in 435. It's just historically where it's been, so we can definitely move it, but it is for
Yeah.
vehicles.
It needs to be moved.
Yep.
It's not infrastructure.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's for vehicle replacement.
I'll make a note.
Okay.
Any other questions for Scott?
Nope.
Scott, thank you.
I guess just I'd point out the GIS. We use GIS a lot, obviously, for mapping. That city partnership has been great with their support and everything you get from it. I think we get a good deal on it, but it's worth checking into.
No, I mean, we're just looking at our contract there. We're not having any interest in changing anything. They're
Yeah.
just
Yep.
seeing how it works. So we're looking at moving some personnel around, as we have a planning person, and she's in the assessor's office. It's, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nope.
All right. Thanks,
All right.
Scott.
Thank you, guys.
Have
Thanks.
a great day.
Thank you, Scott.
Hey, Scott, I just want to say one thing. If you guys are like getting rid of a lot of that tree trimming stuff or whatever, I don't know if you've ever dealt with Justin McNeil at Biochar.
Oh,
I mean, they may be an option for you if
Sure.
they'd need a lot of material, but they
Yeah.
would come in and help you.
yeah, if we have a lot of slash and stuff, they
Yep.
might come in and take it.
Yep, they'll come in and take it,
Yeah.
and
That's a good idea.
yeah. So they're stationed out of Baker, but now they're making little
Okay.
micro plants all over the
Yeah.
country.
Yeah, sounds good. When
Yeah.
we get a project, I'll reach out to them.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks.
Highway Department, Mr. Joe.
Good morning, Commission. Joe Miller, Pennington County Highway Department. Got to close this, Jordan, to go to the
So
other.
are you getting to it? Yep. Hit the minus over there to get that out of the way, and then if you wanted to hit F11 to make it go full screen. Probably press that one right there. That was wider.
Perfect. All right. I don't know where I want to stand. It's almost like I don't know what to do with my hands here. Again, Joe Miller, Pennington County Highway Department. Up in front of you is the Highway Department's budget. We kept our operations as flat as we could. We've got some one-time costs in our budget. That's why you see the increase in our budget. Most of again, the budget is attributed to one-time capital expenditures and strategic investments rather than ongoing operations. The overall budget increase is about 5%, primarily, like I said, due to planned capital improvements. Some of the significant increases is to our professional service line item. That's due to a hopefully completed agreement with the city of Box Elder to offload some of our roads to them. That's why you're seeing that increase in the professional services.
We're going to gift them.
Yes, I like that terminology. We're going to gift them to them. So, capital assets. So this is the year with our equipment improvement plan or equipment purchase plan that we buy 2 blades. So we're on it. We have 10 blades total in the county. So to get them under warranty, we replace 2 every other year and then 1 on the other year. So it's a 2-1 combination. Last year was the first year that or this year actually is the first year that we've had all of our motor graders under warranty, and it's already paid dividends. Our mechanics, I believe, is in March or April, we had to get a loaner blade from RDO so that we had a blade while we were in prime moisture so we get our roads maintained. So that's why you see the increase there. And then we're looking at purchasing a vacuum broom to clean the streets up in Rapid Valley and surrounding areas. Our pickup brooms are currently, I think, 20 and 25 years old, so they're pretty much at the end of their life. The one we've spent more money trying to fix it and keep it going than I feel is necessary. So it's kind of cost prohibitive. We're looking at likely gifting that one to the fairgrounds. We've loaned them a vacuum broom every single year for the Central States Fair, so we would look at gifting that to them for their use. Equipment repairs and fuel is up $318,000. That's primarily due to fuel price increase and just general increases in everything. Major roads projects is up $250,000. Road and bridge supplies is up $132,000, again, due to material increases. I should have looked at my PowerPoint here. We'll go back and some of the services that we do, asphalt overlays, patching, blade patching, bridge maintenance, chip sealing. We do a lot of this stuff in-house. We do contract some of it out as well. Department status. So last year we completed South Rochford Road finally. It was a 3-year project. It was slated for a 2-year project. It did come in. Final numbers is about $800,000 over what the contracted amount was. Talking to the state with the extra year that it took, we were able to get another year of STP funds in our bank, so we shouldn't see a bill from the state. Our SIB loan and our STP funds should cover all of that funding. Deadwood Avenue was a safety project that we completed last year in conjunction with the City of Rapid City. That was a very good partnership. 2025, we had our second annual road and rescue public outreach with, we had the fire department there, we had sheriff there. He brought, search and rescue brought the SHRP. SWAT team was there. Several other entities were there showing off their equipment. I think that's a very good thing we do for the community. I think it's only going to grow from there. This year we've got 4 bridges being constructed. To date, approximately $3.5 million for bridges. So that was just for last year. Total funding, bridge funding for from the big grant, $5.6 million is what we've received from the big grant due to the wheel tax that you guys put in place and allowed us to apply for that funding. So that's $5.6 million that would have had to come from local funding had we not been able to apply for those grants. Our equipment purchase plan, I've kind of already gone over that. So this year we've purchased a new mastic melting machine that you allowed us to purchase in March, and we've made good use of that so far. And then we found it came up for purchase, paving machine from McPherson County. We paid $2,500 for it. It was in working condition, needs some maintenance and some other things that we're going to use. It's a good experiment for us to see if we can even get into the paving business and do away with our contracted paving. So we'll see how that goes here once we get that fixed up and usable. And we are we've already purchased a steel modular bridge that you allowed us in our budget for this year to be done on Trask Road. It's an old wooden structure. This is a bridge that we're going to actually install ourselves with Highway Department personnel. With that, are there any questions on that?
Joe, does your crew do like over sealing of like parking lots and stuff like that?
Chip sealing? Yes.
Yeah. The fairgrounds people came to us with some needs. I don't know if Davis was here a minute ago. They were going to talk to him, but they might be better off talking to you.
Yep, we can certainly get that done. We did ours
If you wouldn't mind calling.
3 years ago. Yeah, I can call Ron. I was actually planning on calling Ron after I heard that yesterday.
Oh, you heard?
so.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Davis is here too, so I don't know if
Yep.
he wants to partake in that conversation too, so. but-
Yeah, and we actually sprayed this out here and had some crack sealing done on it. We don't have a crack sealing machine, so that was done by a contractor, but we do have all the chip seal equipment, so we're able to do that. So we'll get a cost to Ron because we can't spend the highway funds on that, so.
No, we get that, but the number that they had was significant, so.
Yep, we can probably do that for half the cost, or significantly reduced, I should say.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, come
I have a
on.
question on that. When you say you can't spend highway funds on that, could you explain that?
So from my understanding, since I've been here, we don't take any general funds. So to be able to go and do a chip seal on, like when we did Concourse, Davis did a department transfer to us to allow us to do the work there. Same with the fairgrounds when we did when we go down and do deep patching, we give them an estimate of what it's going to cost, and then they do a transfer to the highway department. So we're not spending road and bridge funds on that.
Because it's basically a parking lot, not a street, even though it's owned by the county.
Correct. It's not a road and bridge expenditure.
Okay. Because basically, I mean, when it comes up and we're talking about capital projects, and yeah, it would be a discussion that we would have as to whether or not, to what degree the fair would partnership on that project and what we would do it, and then we'd have a discussion, do we want part of that to come out of our general fund, so.
Correct, and I think we can talk with Davis and see, once we get a cost put together for what it's gonna cost for the materials and the labor and all that stuff, we can chat with Ron and Davis and see what we can come up with.
I think Davis said something about absorbing it.
Absorb. No, what we do here is, it's free, it's bond money, it's just sitting there,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Yep.
So Joe, last year when you did the chip seal out at Blue Wing,
Yes, sir.
we haven't had a problem since. I mean, it was the best money that we ever spent. So, and
Yep.
we'll be giving you a call again this fall because we want to do some more.
There you go.
And so we're a road district, so we qualify for that service, and it really works good for road districts besides, county projects.
Yeah, I mean, if we can fit it into our schedule, you know, our county highway, road and bridges come first, but we've got 3 or 4 road districts that reach out every year. The town of Hermosa reaches out every year to do some of their stuff. And so we partner very well with those entities, and then City of Box Elder we've done some stuff with too, so.
Yeah, you've done a lot of stuff with Box Elder, so you got a lot of projects going with Box Elder, which is awesome, so.
So up in front of you there, you got some pictures. I know Commissioner Hadcock asked for pictures here, I think, a couple meetings ago. So the truck you see there is the one that we purchased last year. That blade there is the one that we got in January. We received the first P-Series in the state of South Dakota. The middle picture there is Deadwood Avenue being paved. The bottom left picture there is South Rochford being paved. And then the top left picture there is one of our RAFE projects with the money that the state allocated for the RAFE program. All right, 2027 budget request. Again, operating expenditures remained below the anticipated annual revenues. The notable increases were the one-time funds for 14-16. We are also partnering with the City of Rapid City to do a drainage basin design. We've got an RFP put together. You will see an agreement in July to do a cost share on that, 50-50 with the City of Rapid City. This drainage basin is a new one between Reservoir and Radar Hill. Planning and zoning has been instrumental in that as well, trying to get that off the ground. That's where we see the development going, and we don't have any sort of drainage design out there, so we're pretty much, we don't know what is needed. We generally say, okay, well, pre-development flows or post-development flows can't exceed pre-development flows. So knowing what we have out there and how much, we can better assist the developers in saying, okay, this is what's needed in your developments when we develop like an Apple Valley and whatnot. So that money is slated to come out of our drainage reserves. There's about, I think, $300,000 in there, and this is slated to cost, I think, anywhere from $250,000 to $350,000 is kind of the estimate that we've got put together, and we'll cost share with the city on that. Another thing up for discussion with you, and we need some direction on what you want to do. Last year, it was found that we have, I think it's $200,000 in that emergency relief fund, Jordan, and it was talked about last year that we want to just get that spent. So we went ahead and put that in there. If you guys don't want to spend that, we can take it out of there. Total from our reserve for those 3 projects is about $1.8 million from our restricted reserves for those one-time projects. Are there any questions on that?
I think Brittney left, but we're working on getting the county to get control of the drainage.
Correct.
And so I don't know, it seems like it's going on forever, though we just haven't come to a conclusion, so.
Yeah, I think this drainage basin design, if the county gets control of the drainage or whether they do or don't, is going to be beneficial for the county and the city going forward.
Yeah, we got drainage designs all over, but they gotta pay attention to them, and that's the
Right,
problem.
they've got to be enforced.
No control of enforcement on them, so that's why we got all the drainage issues throughout our community.
Correct. And unfortunately, the county residents are usually at the.
Well, that's what happens is, because the city's really the one that develops, and the county just gets left over. Well, we'll just push it over there, and then just keep pushing it over until pretty soon it's.
Yeah, worst case scenario is happening right now with, they're developing at the top of what this drainage basin design, and then they're developing at the bottom of it, and no idea what's happening in between, so. Next year, we also have, so this year we were successful in getting one big grant again for Thunderhead Falls. That was a preservation, or the first rehabilitation grant, I believe is what they called it. Getting the one, so after this one, there will be one bridge left on Thunderhead Falls that we need to touch to get it back up to standard or fair condition. Reservoir and Lamb Road intersection reconstruction is slated for next year. We're working with some of the landowners to get the right-of-way finalized. The bid, or the plans are up at the state for review, so we should get that bid yet this fall. There is a gravel haul in place contract north of Wall, so that the reason we do that haul in place, by the time we get to where these roads are, it's about an hour and a half drive from the city of Rapid City where our truck drivers are at. So it's just more cost effective to have a contractor with their ability to haul 70 tons at a whack and house their employees there in Wall to get to work a lot sooner, and they can work, Fridays and Saturdays. We've found in the last couple decades that that's the most cost-effective way to get gravel hauled and placed up there in the Wall division, north of Wall, about 40 miles. So,
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner.
Yes, you just Friday trip to phone call I had, and so a few weeks ago when we had, we were dry all winter long, we didn't have any moisture, dry spring, and like 3 weeks ago we finally, got some moisture for the first time, 3 weeks a month ago, and so the road is Antelope Creek Road.
yep.
And so, and I know we've talked about it, but I've heard it from more than one individual about our work week, and I know we've talked about this, but let's say that, the roads are out there in the conditions. In this example, it's just what was reported to me.
Yep.
That the moisture came in and the perfect day to go out and hit that road would have been a Friday to get all the ruts and to work it with the moisture content, et cetera. And by the time that we hit it on a Monday, because we weren't working a Friday, that the opportunity to get the road in a better condition was gone because of the moisture situation. So the question I would have is, when we have, a situation where the weather is just right, do we go out and hit that? Or does anybody ever come in on their day? Let's say Friday's not a work day, but I've been waiting for months to get the right conditions, and today's the day to hit that road. Do we take that philosophy?
Absolutely.
Do we do that?
We absolutely are in the only day I'd really try and stay away from is Sunday. But years like this year, I take that and say, no, we're going to blade on Sunday. If we get rain Saturday night, we're going to be out blading on Sunday. The only caveat to that is in our outer divisions with the smaller crews, if somebody has a planned vacation, stuff like that, we may not be able to run all of our blades. But I think the specific instance you're referring to, I think we received a call that week also, and we were out blading on other roads that day rather than Antelope Creek. We had some other roads that we needed to get taken care of that specific day, if I recall correctly. So. But no, we absolutely do take every advantage of Mother Nature dictates all in our world, unfortunately. We're at her mercy with blading our gravel roads, plowing the snow, doing all of our maintenance. We're at Mother Nature's mercy. So to answer the question, yes, we do take every advantage we can when moisture hits. So. Hill City's shop, our division shop, the shop that's there was built, I believe, in the 50s or 60s. It's an old concrete building. We have outgrown it, and the fuel system is outdated. So we are actually in works with the Forest Service, thanks to Ron, putting us into contact with our legislators. We are in the process of trying to get some land deeded to us from the Forest Service to build a new highway shop up at the corner of McVeigh and Deerfield. We've been working at that, 3 years now, 4 years?
I would say pretty close to 3 or 4 years, yep.
So I think Thune's office here about 3 or 4 months ago told his staff to draft the legislation for that. And I've got a meeting set up with Rounds' office here after the 4th of July to go speak with them. We had been working with Johnson's office, but since he didn't seek re-election, we kind of shifted gears and are going to start working with Rounds' office on the House side of things. The Forest Service is 100% on board and behind us with this, so we're hopeful that we can get that legislation done this year and then hopefully get design and construction underway in 27, possibly 28.
Mr. Chair, so before we really when I started working with the Forest Service, they asked that we go out there and see if we could find something in the private sector that was for sale. And when there just wasn't anything out there that would work for us, then they agreed to work with us on the particular route that we're taking today, so.
Yeah, and I've continued to keep a lookout. I generally look about probably once a month for any parcels that may come up in the area that might work for us, as far as parcels that private parties own. The problem is most of them end up being pretty close to subdivisions or close to other houses, and I don't see the need to put a highway shop that we start at 4 o'clock in the morning with backup alarms and whatnot in sort of a housing development. I think that'd be a bad move for the county. So I think it's a perfect place where we've got it. We're surrounded by Forest Service, and there won't be any other development anywhere close to us. So I think it's kind of the perfect place for our highway shop. And with the paving of South Rochford, the need to go that direction more often in that high country, it tends to drift in and get more snow. So we're closer to that, kind of splitting the north and the south division of Hill City. So is there any more questions on that?
Nope.
Our equipment purchase plan. So like I said before, we've got 2 blades next year, 1 truck, and then we've got the 5 new dump bodies that you allowed us to go out to bid for, a vacuum broom. We're replacing a service truck. We got one, I think it's like an 03 or 04. We call it Brownie. It's seen better days, and even Pewee, the one that we use in our wall division, they're getting tired. So we're looking at getting those replaced. And then 2 new pickups next year. We've got several pickups in our fleet that are over 20 years old and over 150 to 180,000 miles. I like to joke that vehicles, highways, where they come to die. So we've gotten several from Natural Resources and even Planning and Zoning. We did a couple swaps with them to just get the last little bit of life out of our vehicles. So are there any questions on that? All right, and then more routine road and bridge maintenance. Our chip seal, crack seal, pavement markings, all those line items stayed generally the same. Before I get into RAFE, I did want to talk about, I've been listening to Jerry talk about the fleet management. So I've kind of started down that path. I'd like to talk a little bit more offline if we can. I think I've got an idea how we may be able to make that work. And maybe house it within the highway department. So I think I've got a pretty good idea on how we may be able to manage that. So with the RAFE funding, we do need some direction from the commission on how you would like to see it. So in the past, we've supplemented our budget with the RAFE funds. Is everybody familiar with what the RAFE fund is?
No.
Okay, so it's the Rural Access Infrastructure Fund. So there's a section of culverts out there that they're not maintained, or they're maintained by us. So they're over, I believe it's 16 square foot opening, which equates to about a 58-inch culvert, I believe, or a 54-inch culvert. The legislature last year, or several years ago, the towns and townships is where, East River is where this really was born for. It's on the secondary roads. Those larger culverts are typically on township roads, but they're the county responsibility. And this fund was created to replace those culverts on townships roads, and it can be used on secondary roads. Well, in Pennington County, I think we have 21 townships, and 2 of those are eligible for these funds. And we send out every year. We've got to get updated maps from the townships, so we send them information every year. And we've yet to have any of the townships come forward and apply for this funding. So every year we've applied for this funding. This year we'll come to you to ask for a supplement for the projects that we've got this year. There's $103,000 slated or forecast to be expended this year. Next year, so 2027, I guess kind of got off track there. Did I explain what it's used for?
Replacing them, right?
Replacing those culverts on the secondary roads, basically.
Yeah.
So we didn't tell, I think, what did we get that, 2 weeks ago, Jordan, when I sent you that information? We finally got what the legislature appropriated this year?
Yes, yep, that was just 2 weeks ago.
So in 2026, the towns and townships went to the legislature and got another one-time fund of $5 million put into that, and it's set to be distributed after the 1st of July. So there's going to be another $63,000 put into that. We do have another project that we will apply for and can expend to that. So I guess would the board rather us budget the entire dollar amount that we have in there? So we have the budget or authority, or do you want to see a supplement?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah,
I'd like you to budget for it.
Okay. And that's what we've done this year, I believe, right?
Yeah. Yes, it was not reflected in some of the data we showed, but yeah, that was our agreement that we would budget for this, and so as long as the board is comfortable with that, it will show up in the budget.
We'd prefer that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next, technology upgrades. So, it goes back to before I started. During a budget cycle, County Highway used to have their own program housed in-house that was built by the IT department. And then I think it was about 8 or 9 years ago now, it was done during a budget that the IT department was no longer going to support that program. So after that, we went on the hunt. Chris Grable, who's no longer with us, our accountant, went on the hunt for a program that would fit our needs to do the GASB 34 reporting. We settled on the program that we're currently using, which is PubWorks. They have since sold to GWorks, and we're not 100% sure. We haven't seen that program is going to work. So with the assistance of Mike Iversen, our current IT director, we reached out to was it Omnitech, Mike? To get kind of an idea of what it would cost to get something built that we would house and we would own, we would maintain it, that would work for years and years to come. So as you can imagine, the changing softwares takes staff time. It takes it's a large undertaking that I would rather do it once and move to something that we're going to have for generations. With that, the cost is about, I think the estimate was $350,000 to $400,000, Mike? I believe so. So with that, it would meet all of our requirements, and we would house that in-house, basically. And Mike has agreed to maintain it with the support of Omnitech. I believe that's the best route to go down, just simply for getting away from PubWorks and buying an off-the-shelf program, because there was numerous upgrades, or I don't want to call them upgrades, but things that we had to have PubWorks tweak. And they were a smaller company when they started, but now they've been bought out by GWorks. So we don't know that we're going to get the same service or the same upgrades, the same tweaks that we have been getting. And that transition, I think, Davis, you've already transitioned, correct?
We're still a couple months out.
So Buildings and Grounds is using GWorks or going to be using GWorks as well. So just due to the reporting, we did look into using Tyler software that Minnehaha uses that. The cost is astronomical to get all of those pieces put together. I think I don't remember exactly what it was, but just one of the modules to do it was like $80,000 or $100,000 just for the implementation. I don't know what the ongoing cost was. And with Minnehaha, I don't believe, so I think their auditor does a lot of their GASB 34 reporting, whereas we do that in-house at the Highway Department. So with that, we've put some money in the budget for that. I just would like to get your thoughts on what you would like to see.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Durham.
I'd like to see just a presentation on that itself.
Okay.
So So one of the things, I mean, again, talking to the former IT director, and I know over the decades, a lot of counties with a good, not every county had an IT department, you know, like ours. And we had, under the previous IT director, we had people that could write a program and, you know, write specific programs for a department or an office and set those up. And what I heard in the transition from our previous IT director retiring, and the transition was to get away from doing stuff in-house because it made it difficult. And so there were examples of certain programs and things were maintained by Pennington County IT, by one employee that had the skill set. That employee leaves, we're no longer able to maintain that level of service. And so it's always, you know, everybody, the talk has been moving away from in-house software and going to something that is, you know, an industry standard or somebody that provides that is somewhat consistent. And one of those would be Tyler Technology. And so I you know, I'm familiar with PubWorks. We had it in Meade County, starting PubWorks. And it seems like the problem I've seen is we'll run to this one software and then we get it all set up, and then something else, and then we have to spend all the time and money and hours because we see a new software over here. Well, no, I want this one. And then we go that direction for a couple of years. And I mean, I've seen it in the law enforcement with the different softwares out there for law enforcement, for dispatch. No, let's go with this one. Everybody else is using it. Let's go this direction. No, let's go to this software. And so I'm curious about Omnitech. And so anyway, we could shorten the discussion up by just saying I would want a full-blown presentation on it.
I think that it'd be imperative that we do that, and then maybe get the IT director, Mr. Purcell, and Mr. Miller, and a couple of us in the same room to decide which direction we want to move
Right.
forward.
So-
'Cause anytime we can synergize those, we'd be way ahead. I mean,
Chair, if I may.
yeah.
So that's my thought, right? I mean, I don't want to be switching softwares every 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, we've been on PubWorks. I think 2020 is when we switched to them and started using them fully. Pennington County was the first one in the state to use that, and then several other counties have gone on to that. G-Works now has since bought them out, and the cost, I think, tripled for the service that we're getting. And they couldn't even tell us if it was going to work fully like PubWorks had been. And the problem that we're having is PubWorks, yes, it works, but it doesn't work phenomenally. Like it takes a lot of staff time, and Kira could probably go into depth as to what.
So is it an accounting software? Or
It's
what
so, so we pay our vouchers out of it, and then so with those vouchers, we put those into Tyler for then the auditor to pay. But part of the GASB 34 reporting, we've got to keep track of all the depreciation on all of our roads, all the stuff that we spend on each of our roads. So that's part of the audit process. As far as that's why we have PubWorks and don't just use Tyler Technologies.
I think that there'd be something simpler.
So, and again, getting back to because again, there used to be like, before PubWorks and Meade County had it, there was some, I think, former highway superintendent or somebody at the state level that had developed a program, and it had been out there for decades. And
Ultra,
then it was,
probably.
right, and then it was no longer supported by that individual. You know, they die off, and then here we are. And so when I hear somebody say, and it's not a dig, it's just a comment, when I hear somebody say, this will last us for generations, that is the first thing that puts an alert in my head that says, okay, then I need to see. And getting back to it, the county has adopted, you know, Tyler Technologies. And so it's tied into our financials. And right now, what we have is a duplicated software system with Time Clock Plus just for employee accounting. And so we have, you know, Time Clock Plus, and then we have our Tyler Technology timekeeping, and we're doing two separate things, and we have contracts for this, and then we're paying for this, and this gets down to, you know, this isn't just, you know, when I hear $350,000 or whatever the costs are, then I want to see, you know, what is it that Omnitech does that Tyler can't, and then come in and say, well, if you do Tyler, it's this, and it's going to cost this much. Those are the things I would like to see.
One thing to think about too, Mike Iversen, IT director, Omnitech isn't actually, they're building the software. So it's something that is custom built for what Joe and the highway department needs. At that point, they hand off the code to us, and then we're able to support it. Now, one thing that has changed, sorry?
Ouch.
It can be, depending on how it is. And the highway department's demanding. They know what they want. They want to make sure they get it. So,
All right, here, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna rein this in, and we're just gonna
Okay.
go back to the budget, and then we'll,
Sure.
let's set up a meeting with you and Joe and Davis, because it sounds like Davis has a need for some, and Jordan, and then what other commissioners want to get in on that meeting, and let's sit down and look at this, because I do have some concern that we're migrating away from the software that was adopted prior to me being here. But, so let's talk, let's move, let's go down and finish up the budget stuff, and then let's schedule a meeting, Jordan, to have that conversation on how we move forward, and because we need to me, it seems to make the most sense to have it all on one same page. And if the auditor's office should be handling some of those GASB requirements, and that's something we need to have a
Yeah,
conversation about.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So typically, yeah, the auditors typically don't track that because I'm just going to give an example. So the secondary road levy, so that money that comes in the highway department for the levy on secondary roads, it's a specific levy for secondary roads. That dollar amount, let's just say it's $2 million that's collected, then,
Good guess. That's
Okay.
about what it is.
all right. So then the highway department then has to report back up to the state and show that we took those dollars and we expended those funds, and showing, I gravelled this road, I had this many labor hours out there, time and equipment and expense. And so highway departments have always done that, and then typically they would just run a report, and when legislative audit comes in, it's just, here you go, and it's just part of our audit process, but you do your other reporting, I believe, to the state. There's a secondary report that goes to the state.
Yeah, I guess, Kara, is that what happens?
So anyway, I do know that the highway department, through their software and their internal deal, they keep track of all of that, and they can just run a report and hand it off, and that's about as simple as it is.
But it would make sense if we're all using the same.
Correct, and then again, when we're talking about, using PubWorks to do invoicing and pay stuff, and we have Tyler Technology, and I'm
Gotta
not
transfer it
and I'm
over.
not sure what that process is.
So,
but-
kind of, I'll make it short. So we input them into PubWorks, and then we export them and then import them into Tyler. So there's not a whole lot of work we're not dual entering that stuff. It imports right into Tyler. And that would be the goal with the Omnitech software that we would build in-house. There's things with PubWorks that don't necessarily work like we would like them to, and it takes a lot of staff time to get reports and all the information stuff like Jerry is saying that we have to report on. So that was the thought on doing something custom built, because we had the old highway software. I think, when did Pete build that, Mike?
well before I got here. So.
I think 2001, 2002 is when Pete built that software, and we just transitioned away from that in 2020. So, I mean, that software was utilized for 2 decades. So I think that's what I see, building our own software in-house. And can it be done with Tyler? I just don't. From what we've seen we went and sat with Minnehaha Highways Department's accountant and their assistant highway superintendent, Kira and Connie, and was it Jody went up there, I think, and sat with them to kind of see how they do things, to see if that's kind of the most efficient way to do things. And I guess what we've kind of decided is we don't feel like that's the most efficient use.
So it doesn't work for them then either?
It works, but they're still trying to work all the bugs out of it as well, because they've
You can
only
have
been on it
bugs in
for about.
whatever you do, so.
Yeah.
Correct, exactly.
Well, let's
So,
move on. Let's finish the budget.
Just conclusion, no, we're not requesting any new employees or FTEs. Bridge expenditures are, we've reduced those, or you see a reduction in those, and that's attributed to the wheel tax, the big grant. When I started here, we had 24 or 26 bridges that were in poor condition, and we have 8 today.
Perfect.
So we've greatly reduced or greatly improved the condition of our bridges in the county. The equipment purchases, we continue to follow that equipment purchase plan. We continue to look at it to make sure it's fitting the needs of the county. The budget increases are one-time investments. We continue to improve our roads and try and do as many things in-house as we can. And then big funding, total big funding, we've received about $5.6 million through big grants. Actual costs for those are estimated to be about $8.9 million. So that would be the total cost if we would have done those in-house. Funded 15 bridges through the big program. And then another large one, this year is the first year that we won't have a $20+ million project going. So we're definitely looking forward to that and being able to get out with our crews and not have to go to a weekly meeting at South Rochford or Sheridan. The county spent $50+ million on about 25 miles of road in the last 6 years. So I'll stand for any other questions.
Thank you.
And you're
Any other
proud of
questions?
that.
Pardon?
Yeah, in my district, so you can move to Jerry's district next year.
Well, it's a long time coming, right? Both of those projects, South Rochford was started in 2004, and Sheridan Lake Road was started in 2008. Heidi, one of my predecessors, started both of those projects, and I just got the privilege of getting them across the finish line. So,
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. And no other questions.
Yeah,
You had a question?
yeah, it's
ahead.
unrelated, but it's a quick question. So the Rochford Road, and then I see on the state project up in the hills, is it 385, 85?
385, yeah.
385. Why is there so much controversy on that?
On 85 up in
85.
Deadwood. So I've seen just little snippets. I don't know exactly why there's so much controversy, but I think people are worried they're going to turn it into what 385 is in the name of safety, right? I mean, that's what the state does. They make them wider, they make them less curvy. They just want to try and make them safer so we have less fatalities.
Did you pull up his budget sheet? Go ahead.
And then that's why people are up in arms, because it is such a scenic highway up there that they don't want to see it turned into 385 is my understanding and talking with the state.
Like Joe, sir?
Yeah, get back to the budget. Under services and fees, you're raising about $1 million.
422.
422.
I believe that was the contract you spoke about for 1416.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it increased about 982,000, I think,
Yeah,
right?
that's
About
correct,
$1 million
yeah.
bucks. So that's where we put the funding for the agreement with Box Elder for next year. So we've agreed to pay them $1.25 million to offload Liberty. You guys have not agreed to it yet, but will be coming in front of you here at the next meeting.
And that'll eliminate that highway from underneath of us. Box Elder will take that.
Correct, yes. There's 4 roads, so Morning View, 1416 Liberty Boulevard, and I-90 Service Road.
And Mr. Chair, another question under land. So I'm assuming that's right away.
Which one are you looking at?
431, capital assets.
Oh, the 4-3, yeah, the land. So that is what we've set aside in the off chance that we get the legislation through the Congress for our Hill City shop, so we can start design as soon as possible.
All right, so so the land you're talking about with the Forest Service, would they gift that, or do we have to buy it?
We're not sure yet. So that's up to Congress, essentially, is from my understanding. And in talks with the Forest Service, where our current Hill City shop is right next door to their shop. So I've tossed around the idea of just a land swap with them, give them what our Hill City shop is, and then lieu of payment for the 8.9 acres.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Ross.
So, working with the Forest Service, they wanted an appraisal on that.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 10 acres. It's really a nice piece of land. It'll work good for the county. And so I think that 500,000 reflects what the appraiser came up with that.
Yeah, I think it was like
Or is,
440
market
or something
value.
like that. And we've set that aside, as you can see, we set it aside in 2026. And I don't remember what we set aside in 2025 or.
0, it looks like.
It
That's
seems like
actual.
we've been doing that for
Yeah,
3
I was gonna
years,
say
haven't
that's
we?
actual.
Okay.
And say, I think we've set aside for 3 years, and that's for us to try and save for that construction also.
All right.
And we're all good? We're all good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Joe.
Thank you.
And if you don't mind getting together with Davis on the Central States Fair thing and see if you could, if we could come up to any conclusions that make any sense, so. And then do you have an extra car? Because Commissioner Durr promised the Defender's Office that they would get a car.
You might be able to come up with one.
Maybe a truck.
I don't know if they wanted a truck, but I know they need a car.
No, and again, the comment with them, they don't need one all the time, but
Right.
I know when we get our fleet analysis back, because, we have a lot of vehicles assigned to individuals and a lot of take-home vehicles, it appears, so.
Yeah, so
And we
are
need
we
to be-
doing that survey right now then, Jordan, or was that something we need to do?
We're working on it. We've been working with SDPAA on what they currently have covered, and this can just be an offshoot of that, so that we figure out what's covered, where it's located, that kind of stuff, and we'll just expand it a little bit in-house and make sure that we get the rest of the data that we need is to.
Right, what I asked just this morning, and we can talk, I want everybody to know, but I asked that we get to, is this a take-home vehicle? Is it personally assigned? Is it a pool vehicle, and how many miles on it? Because when I hear that everybody's got their own individual, vehicle maintenance and equipment plan, a new vehicle every year with, a small office, let's say, and saying that everybody has an assigned vehicle, and we're spending $40,000, $50,000 every year on new vehicles. And then other departments like Planning Department, Brittney, is, pooled vehicles sharing with high mileage and kind of hand-me-downs. We need to get a handle on this because, again, looking at an aged fleet of people that are utilizing take-home vehicles, there's a cost to that. We're paying the fuel, we have to insure it, and we need to get a handle because it's a big expense. And the red flag came up when, the sheriff's office had an accident, and then finding out that a vehicle that we've had, for a couple of years was not insured.
Yeah.
And luckily, our insurance provider is going to take care of that. And then when you find one like that, then you go,
You know there's more.
oh, I think we have a problem. And so they're working on it.
Well, we have a problem no matter what we look at, and not have it centralized and not understand what assets the county taxpayers own or not own, so.
So just looking at what Walter sent out here in March, yesterday, we have about 410 vehicles on the insurance list, I believe is what I added up yesterday, just on your comment yesterday, looking
Right.
at centralized fleet stuff. So I started kind of looking at it and digging into it, and we just happened to have that information that Walter sent out. And it was 410 vehicles. That includes all of our pickups in our division, I
So,
think.
okay, 410 vehicles. This is, and again, 410 vehicles. We have 780 employees.
And that includes small trailers, like from search and rescue, our trailers, and I don't know if Sheriff's got.
No, and then you do a breakdown as a type
Right.
of equipment and what we have. But again, but getting into the vehicles, and I already know, we have a lot of take-home vehicles, and I think that we need to, as a board, establish what that policy is.
Right.
I think there is a policy for that.
Mr. Chair,
Specific, so.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
so how about if each department had an inventory of what they have, how many miles are on there, what age it is? So if we want to know what Department of Equalization has, we can just say, here's your sheet. And we can see the whole thing in one page, and
Yep, that is the plan.
then we can sit there and incorporate all those in the one document, and then we'd have a really good idea what we have and who has their own and whatever.
All right, Mike, you're up. Mr. Mike, Mr. IT.
Good morning, gentlemen. Mike Iversen, IT Director. I'm glad you guys brought up the fleet. I spoke in the department head last week or 2 weeks ago, and IT was just getting ready to take over a surplus one from dispatch that they offered up for us because we don't have one, but we could start utilizing it just because I've got guys driving back and forth. So I'm glad to see we're making some changes there. So.
No, and that's a perfect example of a better use instead of paying employees mileage for using their own vehicles.
Yep. So I'm glad to hear that's coming along. Budget-wise, the IT department actually had a slight reduction in it until the auditor and treasurer decided to, and the former director of DOE decided it was a good idea to put the Tyler software annual into the IT budget. It makes sense. It increases it about $208,000, I believe. Unfortunately, it's not up on that sheet because it was a recent change, but it is in the budget narrative that you guys have. Otherwise, the majority of the changes were shift-arounds just for classification pieces. We had a lot of stuff that was put into intangible assets that shouldn't have been this year. So some of that got shifted up into other more appropriate accounting numbers and line items. IT doesn't have much coming out of our budget this year. This is going to be one of our more work years where we're focused on transitioning over to the SD.gov domain for us so that we can start making headway into cloud usage, which we're going to be forced into here very shortly. Unfortunately, once we get into that cloud usage, it's going to end up costing us $300,000 to $400,000 probably in 2028, just because of the way Microsoft is pushing software to be online. They want their $30 every month for every person. So it's going to be an expensive thing. We're trying to drag our feet on that as much as we can because, again, it is pretty expensive. But it's not something we'll be looking at until, like I said, 2028, 2029.
That's for all the basic day-to-day Microsoft software. Yeah.
Yep. They're really pushing everything into the cloud. So that's where they want everybody to be. They're actually started putting in a fee for the next software of a privilege for us to host it. So if we wanted to host everything and not get half of what they're offering, we can pay about $160,000, and then we don't have to go to the cloud. So,
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner.
so when you say cloud, is this one of the reasons they're building these data centers left and right because they are the cloud?
They're
most of the
cloud,
data
brother.
centers are pushed for AI, but there is a fair chunk of them that are cloud-based for
Okay.
this type of thing. But yeah, most of it's a lot of AI push.
Okay.
But
So.
any of the smaller data centers, that's where the cloud exists. So,
Yeah, it's quite a bit of them. Other than that, like I said, no real big changes. It's pretty straightforward, so I'll stand for questions for anything you have.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Durb.
so going cloud-based and/or if we were to have our own internal, pay the 160 whatever and do it internally, does that mean that we get additional storage on our emails?
We'd still end up having the privilege of paying for that storage. If we go to the cloud, they'll take care of it. So it is
All right.
something we'd have to buy the server still for. All we'd be doing is basically licensing what we're currently having. And it becomes an annual subscription instead of a one-time, which is what they had before.
Okay, because again, I use a pencode.org email, and I think it's happened twice or 3 times that I'll get my, I try to send an email and I'll get a warning and I ignore it. But I'll get, I'll try to send an email and it'll say, you can't send an email, your inbox is full. And it's not like I'm getting, a ton of emails, but, and I delete what I don't need, but there is historical stuff in there, and again, I've never experienced in a situation like this where I'm used to, I was in one job for 12 plus years. I had every email from day one, and I deleted what I didn't need, but I could go back and search. And even in Jordan's office yesterday or the day before, I'd gotten an email from the city that got bounced back, but they'd sent it to Jordan. And I'm like, Jordan, do you have that email? I didn't get it. And So anyway, Jordan had it and then went to send the email to me, and he couldn't send the email to me because his storage, his inbox was full, so he had to go in and delete enough emails to send me an email, and that just doesn't make any sense to me.
If you save them in folders, that don't help, does it?
Depends on how you save them. So the county archives everything for 6 years. That's by policy. It was a policy that was adopted by the board in 2015, I believe. So all of emails sent, received, it's archived regardless of what's in your inbox or what's in your sends. And that archive has helped us immensely because it's accessible by every employee. We do have some employees that get a lot more email than others. The sheriff, I don't know how the man survives, but he gets just hammered. But it is an ongoing thing with that storage space. The problem is, trying to figure out a good way to do this, like digging into a whole bunch of technical stuff. Because we back up all those emails, we also have to back up our email server, which is on site. We also have to push that off site and encrypt it. All of that costs money. And so because of the policies, we've always pushed the initiative that we need to keep those mailboxes slow. A lot of it is for performance as well. The smaller your mailbox is, the less time it takes to load up. The less email it is, the less chance there is of encryption. The odds of us keeping absolutely everything forever, it's something we could certainly do, but it would increase costs for the IT department by a fair chunk. So it would also open us up for, we'd have to talk to SAO about what that would do for us for liability issues, because then we'd be responsible for archiving all that and making it accessible if they get into a lawsuit or anything like that. So it's just all things that are all tied together, and it just ends up costing money on how we want to do it.
Yeah, but again, I mean, for me, I'm looking at, and what is the limit on it?
Yep. And that's part of the reason I sent out that email that we had the other day. It's something that Jordan and I have been working on to try and get the commission all on penco.org email addresses, all on county email addresses. So, and as I said in the email, it's something that county business should be done on county emails. But how we handle your guys' email isn't something that we've really explored in the past. So it's something we need to talk about for size quotas, how much you guys store, how much you guys need. Those are conversations that we in IT need to have with you guys to straighten that out so we get you straight and you guys know exactly where you're at. Unfortunately, when you guys got brought in, you guys got put in right in with the employees side. So you were stuck with their quotas, their initials. All that's flexible, but it's stuff we just need to have a conversation to adjust.
Yeah. But I'm just looking at it in a department, if it was an employee doing daily business with department heads, I could see where in 2 weeks their inbox would be full and says you have to delete emails, and I just can't comprehend that. So.
The vast majority of them don't have a problem. We do have some that have a hard time getting to their email.
Mike, if you put them in your folders, does that help storage?
There are ways you can put them onto like local storage so that you don't see them. They're not part of that server storage.
I know Outlook has folders that you can create.
Yeah, we've got a lot of options for ways we can deal with it. It's just
Can
a
you
matter
help
of
Jerry out?
absolutely happy to.
Okay.
I know. So I'm pretty IT savvy when it comes to that, but and again, it doesn't. I'm just saying that the size of that email account is so small that within 6 months of just being a commissioner, and I'm deleting and doing what I want. But again, I mean, it's like your inbox is full, your inbox is full. In any professional environment, and even personally, I've never experienced that.
Okay. Like I said, it's something we can absolutely address. It just costs a little extra money for the county.
Well, maybe we need to have that conversation. Obviously, you've already been having it, so. All right. Any other questions for Mike?
Nope, I'm good.
Jerry, you have any other questions for Mike? Okay. Mike, you're free to go. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Get that queuing system working over there.
Yeah, please don't say
Yeah. Kevin, Mr. Kevin, 911, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. I did not bring I have a PowerPoint I didn't bring.
That's fine if you have 5
I'd rather
minutes or
just look
whatever.
at you guys and talk to you.
Good.
Tell you a little bit about what's going on in the 911 center. In 2025, we answered just over 66,000 911 calls.
We answered 155,000 inbound non-emergency calls. And back a little bit, the trend on 911 calls, it's slowly trending up. I think in 2025 was about a 5% increase over 2024, and that's pretty steady, the rate at which those calls are increasing every year. The 155,000 inbound non-emergency calls, that was pretty consistent with the last 2 or 3 years, that particular
Mike,
stat.
I mean, Kevin, just to stop you, when you say the non-emergency calls are coming in on 911?
No, the
Okay.
non-emergency calls come in on our administrative
That's right,
lines.
you guys are doing dispatch, because you gotta do dispatch for Box Elder too, right?
Right, so we answer the main line for the Rapid City Police Department and the Pennington County Sheriff's Office, so that's where the
So
bulk
you're
of
out,
those
you're
calls.
actually 4131, you're actually taking those calls too?
We're 4131 and 2151.
Okay, gotcha, okay.
That's where the bulk of those calls come in at.
After hours.
Yeah, all day, yeah, all the time, yeah, 24 hours a day.
You can just call there and get a hold of the,
Yeah, 24 hours a day, we answer 4131 and 2151. And that's,
and
it's been
Box
that way
Elder's
since
number
the
too.
dawn of time,
Box
from what I
Elder
understand.
and the sheriff's.
Yeah. The fire department, we don't answer their main line. They take care of that themselves. We dispatched 305,000 calls for service in 2025. That's the first time that we've exceeded 300,000 calls for service in a year. And again, that's trending up slightly. A lot of growth across all of our departments that we dispatch for, with the police department showing the largest growth, the largest increase in calls for service. We received 511 texts to 911. That also increases slightly every year. And we answered 99.8% of our 911 calls were answered within 20 seconds or less, which is above the industry standard by quite a ways. So we're performing very well in that category. We just completed our 2026 compliance review from the Department of Public Safety. Every year we get audited by the 911 board to make sure that, since we receive funding from them, to make sure that we're meeting all the administrative rules that apply to 911 centers. And we were 100% in compliance with all the rules that they did, that we comply with there. So that was good news. Also, I know some of you are aware, I don't know if any of you have ever been there, but we've got a fully functional backup center on Camp Rapid. It's a 10-position backup center, soon to be 13 positions. And we've had that since, I believe, 2018 is when we started working on that. It's what we call a warm center, so it's up and running all the time. All the dispatchers have to do is walk in, sit down, log in, and they're ready to receive 911 calls and dispatch. And we've done several practice drills, and we can transition from the main center to the backup center. We can do a complete transition in about 15, 16 minutes. Basically, all it takes is drive time across town, and we can be fully functional up there.
That's super amazing.
Yeah, works really well. For 2027, our requested amount is $6,308,000. That's an increase, about a 12% increase, total about $673,000. $576,000 of that is console related, which you guys have already approved. In March of this year, you approved funding from the restricted fund to pay for the majority of that console. So of that $576,000, the majority of that was already approved to come from the restricted fund. What I didn't include in that, and I think I told you that when I did my presentation, is that was for the radio portion. We still have to buy the physical consoles, the computers, the monitors, all the other things that go along with setting up a console. Those are about $25,000 a piece. And so when I asked for the funding approval in March, I just asked for the radio portion. I said that I would put the rest of that in my 2027 budget. So that is the rest of that. So that $576,000 is a large part of that already approved. The rest is the radio console pieces that, or the actual dispatch console pieces that we still have to purchase. And then $106,100 is for infrastructure upgrades, things like UPSs, battery backups that we're required to have. In our service centers, we're required to have backups at all of our tower sites everywhere. We've got several of those that are end of life. We have to replace those. And then we've got several of them that are on a scheduled maintenance where every 5 years they have to be replaced. So those, and then our normal monitors, keyboards, headsets, equipment that we would normally have to purchase. So that's the $106,000. What I would like to have a conversation about is the way our funding works. So you guys know the way our budget is. We get 911 surcharge money, and then we have also revenue from contracts and services. We provide dispatch services, And then whatever's left through our joint powers agreement that we have with the city, whatever's left is a 2/3, 1/3 split between the city and the county. And we're, in my opinion, this is costing the city and the county money, is in the past, I've asked to use money from the restricted fund to fund certain projects, software, hardware. I've even offered to, or tried to fund FTE positions out of the restricted fund. And I'm told, well, you have to spend all the money in your budget first, and then if you spend all the money in your budget, then we'll do a transfer from the restricted fund. So if I put those positions in my budget on the front end, because of our agreement, it gets absorbed by the 2/3, 1/3 on the back end between the city and the county. So if I say, for example, we'll use this $673,000. If I put that in my budget on the front end and don't show on the front end the transfer from the restricted fund, that $673,000 is going to get absorbed by the city and the county on the back end of the 2/3, 1/3 because of that JPA agreement. So I don't agree that.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Commissioner.
Yeah. So who's got the 2/3 and who has a 1/3?
The city has a 2/3, the county has a 1/3, and that's based on calls for service.
Okay.
And it's pretty, that's something I monitor every year, and it's pretty consistent that way. So, so to go on the theory that, so if we put it on the budget in the front end without showing a transfer from the restricted fund on the front end, that money gets absorbed by the 2/3, 1/3 split on the back end. So there's always going to be enough money in there because, and we will never have to do a transfer from the restricted fund. So what I did this year is I asked the question to several people, show me the statute or the administrative rule or the directive from the state auditor that says I have to spend all the money in my budget before I can do a transfer from the restricted fund. And no one was able to produce anything other than it's a county policy, which makes sense to me. I think the way the normal department budget works, that probably makes sense to have that. But in my case, the way our budget works, it's actually costing the county money by doing it that way because you're absorbing all that on the back end instead of showing that as a revenue transfer on the front end from the 911 restricted fund. I had a brief conversation with Jordan about it. We're seeing if there's a way we can change that. And that's what I did in my budget this year is I actually just put a line item for revenue of a transfer from the 911 restricted fund right up front. So we can show it as revenue on the front end so that we lower the city county portion on the back end, which in my opinion is how it should be. And I think over the years, it's cost the city and the county money by having this policy in place.
All right.
Does that make sense, the way I explained it?
No, not really. I mean, I get it, but I think to me, it's becoming overcomplicated a little bit. So I'm going to rephrase how I'm hearing it and then probably get some follow-up. So getting back to the restricted fund as to where those dollars come in. So we have the revenue stream and it's a restricted fund. And I do know years ago that counties were building up their restricted fund from these revenues coming in. And it used to be years ago that the surcharge and the stuff on cell phones, et cetera, that payment would go directly to the counties. And so the counties would receive that directly. The state wasn't involved. And then the 911 board at the state level is like, no, we want the revenues. And so they took all the county revenues and got it at the state level. And then the state level is at the users board at the state level, whatever you call it.
The 911 board.
911 board at the state level then said, we're going to take all the money and then we're going to allocate it out. And so what was happening is they started to look at some of the counties that were building up their, and so they were operating out of the general fund, building up this restricted fund, and it got up to a high level. And so then at the state level, then they came in and said, if you're building up this restricted fund and you're not using it, we think you have too much money. So if you don't spend your money, then we're going to take it and we're going to reallocate it. And basically what they were going to do is go to the smaller counties and say, I'm going to take your money and I'm going to give it to Minnehaha County and Pennington County. And so in Meade County, I switched. Instead of pulling the money out of the general fund, we had built up, I don't know, about 600,000, something like that. And so anyway, we just took all of our personnel and operational costs out of that fund, and so you had a line item for personnel, equipment, expenses coming directly out of that fund, and then we had what the general fund was. So I don't know, I guess my thing is, I'm not sure why we have to build a revenue stream up front, show some of the expenditures coming out of that fund, some out of the general fund.
Well, yeah, I'll try to explain it again, because, try to break it down and make it less complicated. So,
I'm going to say, would you like me to jump in here real
Yeah,
quick?
and
for some of
ask
the fun
Jordan to jump
stuff?
in.
Okay, so yeah, essentially when I was talking with Mr. Karley about this, all of our expenditures really do come out of that restricted fund. It is the 911 fund that we're using. The thing is we have the joint powers agreement, which is kind of vague in some of its wording, which we think we can get cleared up. But what we're talking about here, he's mentioning that we're going to try to record this stuff as a revenue on the front end. It's not exactly going to be considered a revenue. It's a means of finance is what it is. And that's what I think was tripping up the auditor in the historical years, is that they weren't looking at this as a means of finance because they looked at the joint powers agreement, and the joint powers agreement said we split 1/3 and 2/3 of total outstanding costs, basically. And so what is an outstanding cost? They said, well, any expenditure is outstanding. It's like, no, because the 911 surcharge will knock down outstanding costs. It's whatever remains after we use all of the means of finance. And so I think it was just an interpretation issue where I don't know that we even have to claim this as revenue. It's just we have to clarify that this is coming out of the balance we have in the fund as opposed to splitting that cost between the city and county, because when we do that, we end up just adding more to the fund when we want to start spending
right,
it down.
it actually costs
So
the city and
it's-
the county more money, and the
Yeah.
fund keeps growing.
Yep.
Yes.
And so it's, in my mind, it's a means of finance issue is what it is.
You're trying to do
And
the
I
same
think we
thing
can
you
get
were
it.
doing, Jerry.
Right, and what we did, because again, okay, hearing that we had the same agreement in Meade County with the dispatch and that type of stuff, and so the county, we had a split and a share. And so the way at one point in time that was done, that burden was onto the county, and then we switched how we were doing the budget to capture
Yeah.
something like that. But again, yeah, the revenue, yeah, it's, all right.
Yeah, so I think we need to change the way we see that, and it will save the city and the county money, because then it's not being absorbed, they're not having to absorb that on the back end. And our restricted fund right now balances at 5.4 million. It doesn't need to be that high. We have a couple of large expenditures coming up in the next 3 years I'm going to talk about. But what I would propose is that we look at ways to start putting that using more of that restricted fund money on the front end to supplement the city and county portions and spend that fund down. And there's several ways that we can do that. One of the large expenditures that's coming up is Motorola has told us that they're not going to support our dispatch radio consoles after 2030, which means we have to upgrade to the next type of console, the access console.
And Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Deere.
the state just rolled that out how many years ago? Because the state, updated all the consoles throughout the state, so.
Well, yes and no, and I'm getting to the funding portion of that. So our consoles, some were purchased in 2013, some were purchased in 2015 when they moved in, and that's the actual dispatch consoles. And so they're going to be quote-unquote end of life. Actually, we did pay for our own radio consoles when they moved into the new center. Pennington County paid for those, or they were paid for with a combination of restricted funds and county and city funds. So the estimation that I'm getting for us to transition all of our radio consoles over to the new console in 2030 is going to be around $4 million. So that's one of the reasons why I was trying to hold a little bit in that restricted fund to help offset a large portion of that. But now I learned at a meeting last month that the state is seeking a grant to try to fund that entire transition statewide. It's a federal grant. They're not very optimistic they're going to get it, but if they do happen to get that grant, then the state would pay for all those consoles to be swapped out. And then I think definitely we need to start every year building into our budget a way to use more restricted fund money on the front end to keep the city and spend that fund down to a reasonable amount. There's no reason why it needs to be as high as it is right now. So that was the biggest portion of what I wanted to discuss today, to get us all on the same page and understanding that and moving forward in a way to solve that. Bottom line is, again, the way the budget works, we're actually able to show a decrease this year, a decrease in the city's portion of $197,000 and a decrease in the county's portion of $98,000 over 2025. Now, we're looking at purchasing an AI software program in 2027. I built it into the budget. It's an AI bot to answer our administrative lines. We've been researching this for about 2 years now. It's becoming industry standard across the country at PSAPs, and the AI technology on these phone bots is really advanced. They use conversational AI, and it works really well. We've demoed several of them. We actually are going to be demoing a system through Rapid SOS through the remainder of 2026. If we like it, if it performs the way we think it's going to perform, then I built into the budget $77,000 for a contract to purchase that in 2027. And what I did is then I reduced on the personnel side by 1 FTE, because that 1 FTE is about $76,000. This program costs about $77,000. So basically what I'm doing is I'm transferring that from personnel over to operations, because if this performs the way we think it's going to perform, I'd be very comfortable not filling that FTE position. And I think it's going to really slow our growth. Again, answering those 155,000 non-emergency calls is a big part of our workload. So if we had a phone bot that could help us with that. Some PSAPs are reporting that put these phone bots to work that it's reducing their inbound admin calls by up to 75%. Actual calls that a dispatcher has to talk to a person. I don't know if we'll see that here, but even if it's 50% or 40%, it still has a huge impact on the workload. So we're going to demo that through the rest of this year. We're going to kick the tires on it. We're going to introduce it to our community and to our users slowly. We're going to turn it on during peak times, during special events, and give everybody a chance to use it and give us feedback on if they think it's effective and if they think it's working, and make sure it's performing the way we believe it should perform, and it's actually going to make a difference. If it does, then I would come back to the commission and say, hey, I think we need to purchase this program in 2027. So that's a part of that as well. So I'll stand for any questions that you have.
Well, I appreciate the fact that, you were able to reduce one full-time employee to offset that other expense. I guess, then, I don't know that you can answer this, but, when you look at the other current expenditures and that, this particular in 2027, 120% increase, what do you see for the next year, 2028? Do you see that going down?
I don't know for sure. I really don't know.
Or is that just going to be the cost of business?
Yeah. I hate to, it's hard to make those kind of predictions.
I don't have any other questions, Commissioner Durr, or I'll ask Ron. Kevin pretty much wrapped up. Is there anything you want to?
What's up?
Kevin pretty much wrapped up. Is there anything you want
Kevin,
to?
I just got one question for you. Did anybody call in that found my tent?
No, the tent is still at large.
Where's Waldo?
Where's
Yeah.
my tent? All right, thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, Mr.
Thank you,
Chair.
Kevin.
Jerry?
Yeah, got a question.
Okay.
I'd like to talk, so explain the backup dispatch out at Camp Rapid.
Okay, so by administrative rule, every PSAP is required to have a backup dispatch center. And we operated out of the basement of Station 6, the fire department, up on the hill for quite a few years. We outgrew it. We only had 6 centers there. So in 2018, end of 2017, our user board said, find a better backup center. So we were looking for opportunities, and we landed on Camp Rapid for several reasons. It's geodiverse. So it's on the other side of the town. They've got a very robust backup power system. They've got access. There's dorm rooms there. There's a kitchen there. If there was ever a long-term a disaster or something where we had to operate out of there long-term, we've got access to all the facilities, and it's secure. It's got 24-hour security. So we negotiated with the Guard for a spot up there. They remodeled the building for us, the old credit union. And then it cost us just shy of $1 million to get that set up and running. We did a lease purchase through Motorola to purchase the equipment. And then we got a grant from the 911 board that allowed us to pay about half of that lease purchase. So we paid it off early, and we ended up, the grant covered about half of that expense. At the end of the day, is $550,000 of that 970,000. So yeah, what we use that for is, we use it quite a bit actually. We're there right now through the whole month of June while they're doing their remodeling in our center. We're operating out of that backup center. And then we use it during the rally. We move part of our staff out there because we don't have enough radio consoles in the main center if all of our staff is working, which is another reason why we're expanding down there. And then we use it for training. It works very good for field training when we're training new dispatchers to have them in that environment by themselves out there with a training officer. It works very well for that too.
And then what does it cost us for that lease?
We pay $2,000, I believe we're paying $2,000 a month for that lease, I believe is what we're paying.
All right. And then getting around to our local neighbors, and so Meade County, Lawrence County, et cetera, what do they use for backup?
I don't know that they have, I'm not sure what Meade County has for backup, to be honest. Lawrence County, we're actually in negotiations with them to use, sign an MOU to use our backup center. And what we'd like to do is we'd like to pursue making it a regional backup center so that Meade County and Lawrence County can have access to it. We were able to make it work. In October, Lawrence County built a new main center, and they had to transition from the old center to the main center. They weren't going to have a place to work for about 3 days. So we actually were able to set it up so they could work out of our center for 3 days. So we were able to show that we can make that work. So we want to turn it into a regional center for these smaller PSAPs that don't have a backup center. And one of the ways that helps us as a county is the 911 board has indicated that if we do that, they would be willing to give us more funding to support that.
All right. So that was my kind of question because, yeah, I already kind of know the answer about what some of the backups are for the other areas, and I thought that it would be a benefit if, because again, I know that it was last year sometime, Meade County had a very shortage of dispatchers, and so you guys assisted them and took on some of the training of their dispatch team. And so anyway, it's just one of those things. I think regionally we need to think about local government and what we can do to help each other out. So
yeah, the 911 board has a grant system available right now, and one of the things they're trying to expand is just that. And so that's why once we get the 3 new radio consoles in place at Camp Rapid, I'm actually going to go back and seek reimbursement for those under that grant system because we're supporting that, and I'm fairly certain we'll get reimbursed for those.
all right.
Thank you, Commissioner Durr, and thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Have a great day. And the winner of the most decorated department is up next. Register of Deeds, Audra Casteel.
She is the most decorated department.
Yep, she is. Every time she's in the spirit.
We try really hard, and we like to be celebratory.
Yeah,
And fun.
It gave me a great idea of thinking about Christmas time, maybe having a countywide, like they do down in Pier, having a Christmas tree contest, or they actually let people come in and put Christmas trees throughout, so it's like you can walk through the halls, and we got plenty of room here. It'd be kind of cool, but anyway, go ahead, Audra.
Yeah. So I got rid of a software component that is no longer beneficial to my office, so that saved me some money on the M&P. I see that I put a little bit of an increase in the general fund. Those could actually come out and go back into my M&P so that I'm not, the only increase that my budget will see then is for salaries. I did give some raises to new employees that have exceeded my expectations and gave them in compliance with the higher policy. So my budget will see a little bit of an increase there. So.
Pretty simple and straightforward, but I'm sure Commissioner Durr will have a question.
No, I mean, I've looked at your budget, but I'm just curious, the move up here, being in the new building, I mean, how has it worked with your office?
Good.
the expanded space, et cetera.
It's, our space is beautiful. I really like it. It'll allow my office the opportunity to grow with the county, to eventually add staff when we need it. We were kind of at capacity in the other building where we wouldn't have had space if and when we do need to add. It's a good workspace. It's kind of open, and it allows the public a better, cleaner, nicer atmosphere, I
I
feel.
can see your decorations a lot better now.
Yes, for those who come back to us. So we do still get some of the traffic for the treasurer's office, and we direct them that way, so.
Mr. Chair, for the record, the commission office gets a lot of traffic for the Register of Deeds because they can't quite find it. It's like, you guys are heading the right way. Keep going,
We
you're
get a lot
almost
of-
there.
We get a lot of traffic
That's
for
why we
the
need to put some
bathroom
little
as well. They
footprints.
walk right by the bathroom and come to us, and so we
We need to
send
get
them the
Davis
other
to
way.
put some little footprints
So.
in that said, hey, you're almost there.
Yep,
You're
so,
almost there. So I know that when we went back to the Fridays, I had a lot of comments that worked out way better for people. Because the thing that people don't understand about first in time registrations, I mean, people could slip stuff in between, on mortgages and that type of stuff, it's, what you do is very legally complicated when the timing's off, so.
yes.
That they were very excited about going back to having that available on Fridays. So Commissioner Roskinick, did you have a question?
My only question would be, so when we decided to go with this building, we wanted to say that in 15 years, we'd have enough room for all the departments. And obviously, I'm assuming that in 15 years, that you'll still have plenty of room for the auditors, Register of Deeds office.
I do believe in 15 years, we'll still have adequate room, yes.
Well, very good.
We have no more
Yeah,
questions,
very easy budget to look at, so thank you for.
and it's a decrease, which
Thank
makes
you.
it really easy for us. So, Jerome? Mr. Jerome? Thanks for coming in early, brother, because we had you scheduled later, and if we could get out of here early, that would be very beneficial if we could start making some phone calls to some of these other people.
Thank you.
Davis keeps coming in and out of here, so he's up next after Jerome.
We got these videos. Can we use the one that's on there?
We're gonna find out.
Because the videos are on there too.
Do you want just the videos, or do you want the presentation and the videos?
Both. We've had to tweak a couple. There were some spelling errors and some tweaks. Everything's the same information. It just doesn't look.
So you'll have the PowerPoint, and then on the desktop, I'm moving over the video, so you should.
So do I run it from here then?
Yes. Yep, I'll run it
Okay.
from here.
Okay.
As soon as it's ready.
As soon as it's ready. Good morning, Commissioners. Jerome Harvey, Fire Administrator of Pennington County, South Dakota. Pleased to present our 2027 budget ask. Today with me is our assistant, Maurice Curbo. She's in the back. We did have some other members that were going to make it, but due to scheduling conflicts here, we're not able to be here from our Fire Service Board. First thing I'll ask you is to take just a few seconds and make sure you know two ways out of this room. Every room you're at, either in your house or your business or whatever you're doing of the day, make sure you know two ways out. It's very important to know your exit, so just take a second there for safety. So what happens in county fire? We have some core missions that we work on. Our three things that we work on is under administration, operations, and advocacy. Administration is supporting our 20-some fire departments, and it can be anywhere from doing planning and zoning business to assisting them with business practices to helping them with their workers' compensation. That's something that is very important. It's in the state statutes, and we do a lot of our work with workers' compensation. We do operations. We do respond on on certain alarms. It's all built into our dispatching network, and our fire departments and other agencies can request assistance from the county fire office depending on what's going on. So we are able to respond out and support what's going on. Advocacy, that can be anywhere from working with the public. We'll see some of that later on here in our presentation, or like we've been working with the EMS task force and peer. So lots of different issues that go on, but those are those are our core missions: administration, operations, and advocacy. And we're following Jordan's layout as far as how to do the budget here. So that's what we're following here. All of our programs and services, our core programs and services, are all based somewhere within the state statute, whether it's working with you, working as far as the hub for all fire-related and rescue-related issues in the county, liaison with law enforcement, workers' comp, so on and so forth. So everything we have ties back as far as our core missions to some type of a state statute. Current department status. We've talked about some operational challenges, staffing changes, performance highlights, space facilities, et cetera, that we've faced by both the fire administration and Pennington County firefighters. As far as staffing or organizational changes, Val did retire on us towards the end of last year. Marie's did come on board with us. Initially, I was bragging about how I stole her from the out of the auditor's office, but it finally dawned on me the auditor planted her in my office, keep an eye on me. So that's been kind of a change for us, working very well. We're happy with our space and our facility, the issues that you guys are doing as far as the remodel that's going on down at the old administration building. We're very happy with the space that we have there. We do have some technology limitations as far as ability to use some of the stuff that's out there, some of the areas that we cover, the county being the size that it is. We do have some challenges that we're facing in the future as far as, and we'll talk about that as far as notification of our firefighters. But one of the most important things that you guys support is the communications network through our county fire office. All 20 firefighting agencies in the county use this. All the ambulance services use it. Our search and rescue team uses it. Water diving specialty teams, and also law enforcement. Our core sites, one at Hill City, the one in Skyline, one down by Wall, and one up at Creighton, along with a paging network and our voice communications network. We maintain our analog network, and we also have the tie-in to the state network, covered by state statute for emergency reporting, and is, again, we have excellent dispatching, and we have amazing communications, land-based and terrestrial-based communications, and that's a big thing that you support through the office. It isn't just for the firefighting agencies, it covers all of our emergency services. That's a big part of what we support and work on. There are 20 fire departments, 18 of them are volunteer-based. All of our fire departments meet or exceed the statute for being a fire department. And we have 34 fire stations across the county. 8 of them are in the city. They're not marked on here. One of them is at Ellsworth. And then the county, out in the county, we have 25 fire stations that are geographically located throughout the county. The fire service itself, nationally, depending on what report you look at, 70 to 78% of the fire service is volunteer-based. In South Dakota, we are second to in the nation to the state of Delaware as far as volunteer fire service. 96.6% of us, our firefighters, are volunteer in the state. In Pennington County, we support 575 volunteer firefighters and 242 career firefighters that cover the almost 3,000 square miles of Pennington County. As far as the incidents that we responded to in 2025, we saw a little bit of a dip during the pandemic. We did see quite an increase during the height of it, and we saw a little bit of a decrease on it. But again, as far as the call volume out in the county continues to climb back up, and I don't see any, with the amount of people that are coming in the area, the amount of events that are going on, I don't see this ever tapering off. I continue to see that the actual call volume, as far as incidents in the county, continue to climb. One of our core functions as far as our volunteer fire departments, wildland fire suppression can be anywhere from a grass fire, the timber fire, urban interface fires. We'll show you some of that here in a little bit. We do rescue and extrication work. We have approximately, amongst our 20 fire departments, we have 15 rescue squads that respond on either medical emergencies or entrapments. All of our fire departments do respond initially to some type of medical emergency that provide first responder services. And of course, we still have structural firefighting responsibilities. far as our budget overview, some of the drivers that we have in our budget, again, workers' compensation, capital assets. We do have some capital improvements that we are working on. Next year, we have some requests to assist with some of our tower repairs we have to do as far as our communications network, both at Scranton Mountain and out at Walth for the eastern part of the county. The radio shop has indicated there's some issues that we need to address, and that's where some of our increases are going to be. We do see some increases in IT services. We're working on some mapping issues to be able to track our personnel, be able to tie in better as far as tracking incidents with the sheriff's office and other law enforcement agencies. So we do see an increase in that. We're not requesting any FTEs at all. We do have a long-term plan that we work on. A lot of our issues that are on here, we continue to look at that and make sure this is updated. One of the things we're bringing to you, and we'll talk about it a little bit, is the changing out of our Cascade system. The Cascade system supports all 20 fire departments in the county. We've addressed some things as far as like out at New Underwood. We had quite a communications hole in New Underwood. We're able to get that addressed. We had a paging hole up at Hill City. We got that filled this past year. And one of the worst places that we have that we still need to address is out at Wasta. We have the Wasta hole, and we need to continue to work on some solutions as far as providing some better communications there. We also have some requests. We have to replace our radio. We do have to replace some personal protective equipment next year.
So Jerome, say in Wasta they have a hole. What does that mean?
It's down along the river. We call it nickname. We call it the Wasta hole.
Okay.
And the problem that we have there is the shadowing that occurs right in Wasta itself, as far as radio communications, specifically with the state network.
Okay.
We were able to address the problem in New Underwood with the depression in the ground there because we had county networking out there, and our radio shop come up with a solution for that. But it's right there in Wasta where we have the problem. And we have anything that goes on in Wasta is always some type of a serious incident. It shuts down the interstate. We have fires and accidents, et cetera, that occur there. And it's a problem that we're working with the radio shop to come up with some kind of solution and come up with the funding from there. But it does create a problem for us.
Do they have a solution? And is just
We've done some things. We've done some things as far as working with our analog system, but we want to make sure that they can have total access to our network, to our digital system all the time.
Right, okay.
And it's not an easy fix. It comes down to networking, having networking on all the time, and that's where the real hang-up is right now.
Okay.
We have the building there to be able to do it, to be able to support it. It's supporting of the network, and that's something that we definitely need to getting it addressed. Okay. We don't have any personnel requests. Grant funding for the office itself, we do use Title III money. Last year that was not available. We understand that from the Secure Rural Schools Act that has been authorized. We do share that with Natural Resources and Pennington County Search and Rescue and the Sheriff's Office. And we do use that for supporting the office's response to wildland fires inside the Black Hills National Forest or Black Hills Forest Fire Protection District. We just haven't seen that funding yet.
Your Chair.
Commissioner has a
Yeah,
comment.
I made a note going back to the Title III funding, and so I heard, Scott Guffey said that there was a decision, with the sheriff to split the funds on this and then split the funds with you. I believe the Title III funding and some of these other revenue streams, those are commission decisions. And so I think we need to look at the revenue and decide where we want the revenue to go. And specifically when we're getting the Title III money and some of this federal money, then I think I understand departments have said, well, let's split this and let's go these directions. But I think that looking at the revenue and what I would like to see is a history on a 5-year history on the different Title I, II, and III funding, what we've received, and how it's been allocated. And because again, we're supplementing some of these restricted funds through the general fund. And I would like to see a history on this federal funding and how the money's been allocated.
Okay. Who would have that information, Jordan?
Jordan will.
Oh, Jordan will have.
Yeah, it's just running the information and the finances.
Yes, I can get that.
How are we coming with filling your position? I mean, we're putting a lot of stuff on you, and
We are going to be scheduling interviews immediately proceeding these budget hearings. We were waiting to get through this week. It was a little bit busy, but as of either this afternoon or tomorrow, we will be filling our positions, but we
I
can
just
go
know
back to.
we're piling a lot of these little.
It's all right. I'm keeping tabs.
It's not all right, so, but anyway, go ahead, Jerome.
Just if I could, just point of order, Mr. Chairman, I introduce my daughter, Amelia,
Hi, Amelia.
and she's working on some government stuff, so I said this is a great way for her to learn about government for her
Oh,
school.
yeah, absolutely.
So I'm gonna have her stay up here for a while and help me out. All right,
All
thank
right,
you very
go right
much.
ahead.
Yeah, the Title III money there's some pretty specific guidelines for that, and we've always followed that, guidelines for use of Title III money. Okay, under the capital request under Section 7, our Cascade system currently is trailer mounted. This responds over 100 times a year. It's used for training, it's used for fires, it's used for dive rescue emergencies or use of air tools, as quite a bit of usage on it. The problem is that it's trailer mounted, and if you've ever pulled a trailer in the middle of the night on an icy interstate with the wind blowing and going to an incident, you'll find out it's not a lot of fun. We did have a 10-year replacement cycle on this, and we're coming to the end of that, and we're bringing on the July 7th meeting the request to move forward on the chassis mounted version of this. But this is the one of the socialized, I guess we want to call it, things that the county does provide for the fire departments and for our emergency services across the county is the Cascade. It allows us to stay in the fight. We're able to bring our breathing air right to the scene and fill it for those various emergencies. We are working on this. We'll have the presentation for you on the 7th as far as moving forward, as far as a replacement for this. This is really one of the largest purchases that I've been involved with since being here at the office. And going back to a chassis mounted system would definitely be safer and more maneuverable, safer for our personnel, and definitely be a 20 to 30 year apparatus. We do have some other requests as far as our capital requests for 2027. Mask fit tester, our current mask fit tester is over 20 years old. The manufacturer is indicating support is coming to the end of life of that. We mask fit test, 19 of our fire departments use this mask fit tester in some way, making sure that the masks actually fit onto the firefighters. We use this for anybody in the county has been able to use this, not only the fire departments, the counties use as far as respirator fitting. But as far as the mask, we need to make sure that the mask fits the firefighter properly. The masks do come in different sizes. We're able to determine that. So we do have a request and need to change our mask fit tester out next year. So that's coming to the end of life. And this is several guidelines that follow on this as far as being able to fit a mask onto a firefighter. So that's one of our capital requests. We do have a capital request for the office, and the other one is for a thermal imaging camera. In the departments that we do support, not everyone has access to thermal imaging. This allows us to look into smoke and environments. We're able to look for lost individuals or people that are trapped in the fire. We actually look for fire itself, and we're able to bring thermal imaging directly to the scene. That's definitely one thing that we can do better to support our fire departments, is to be able to bring thermal imaging to the scene. The other thing we have is personal protective equipment. I thank the county for providing this to me. It's saved my life and saved me from further injury a couple different times. Several different times, but I do use the personal protective equipment. It's got a 10-year life cycle. That's industry standard by both OSHA and NFPA, several other guidelines as far as the 10-year cycle, and it's come to end of life, and we'll need to replace that next year. So I always get a kick out of key performance indicators and the impact on the public here as far as what we do. And this is directly from Jordan, and I appreciate Jordan helping us with this outline, and not picking on him, but what do we do within the county fire office, and what do you support? So community impact. So we talk about community impact. 3 of these fire stations are fully operational. They're becoming community centers, making the life of the people in those rural communities better. They're able to have places to have meetings, and community events and support the fire service back to the community. Merritt, the one at Merritt at Silver City, is very close to being completed. This is a huge impact across the county that the county has supported, and this has come out to be quite the program here. It's one of the things the county has done that's really had a significant impact. Some things that we do directly out of the office: we do provide CPR training mannequins. We provided one of the first office or places that had access to CPR training mannequins was the county fire office. I cannot even imagine the thousands of people that have had CPR training because the mannequins being available. Community outreach, we do quite a few partnerships. Like some of the things that have just gone on, this is kind of touchy and seeing on there. We do things with the Rush, we do things with Thunder, we're doing some things as far as supporting the War Eagle football, summer football program that's going on. They're playing this weekend. They have a first responder night. We're doing some things there. And we do provide Sparky, and he does quite a bit of community events. And we have one particular gentleman that supports us with Sparky and does a fantastic job with it. And we did get a lot of outreach as far as messaging and advocacy out to the public, and to whether young kids or older people, whatever we need to do as far as public education and engagement that's supported by the office.
If you ever need any more support with public outreach, we have a Wiseman here.
We're going to show you about what Cody has done for us here. Yeah,
Awesome.
we'll show you when we get done here some things Cody has done.
He does headshots.
Yeah,
So-
he's done some stuff for us. That Cody's I can't speak highly enough, Jordan, about Cody. He did the Fire Chiefs Association banquet, and you'll see some of those photos out of that. And he's done we have a couple little quick little video clips at the end that he put together for us. We work with Cody all the time.
Perfect.
One of the things that we're pretty happy with that the office supports is just one example of our community impact, this trench safety stand down. And this started out with just a few people a few years ago and just a little lot, and there's about 20, 30 people there, to where you can see the crowd there. They're actually going to bring in, next time we do this, they're going to bring in 2 more stands. And this is workers in the field that are getting into the trench, which OSHA puts on a safety talk, SDSU puts on a safety talk. The City Fire Department, the heavy rescue crew comes out and does a demonstration for it, so the workers actually get to see the proper equipment that's being used, and if they don't use it, what kind of response is going to happen with that. And it's real eye-opening with that. Very happy to be involved with our community partners, with private entities, and excited to put this on. It's quite an undertaking, but it's really had quite an impact. And just by the amount of people, again, you can see here, this picture does not even show everybody that was there. It's amazing how well that is working out.
That's awesome.
A couple other things that we do as far as back to our specific on our firefighters, we do support training throughout the county. Just gives you some of the different examples that go on. We have firefighters, and you see in the public or in the trade publications, as far as some people want to differentiate between wildland firefighting and structural firefighting. We don't have a difference. Our firefighters attack both wildland fires, attack structure fires, and perform rescue operations. And this is just an example of some of the stuff that we have to put them through to get them up to speed. And that takes quite a bit. And the county supporting this is a huge thing as far as supporting of this. We did take a little bit of a hit this past year as far as our funding, and we've asked that to go back to where that was so we can better support these programs. Just briefly here, just as kind of overview, the Rushmore Fire Conference is quickly, this is actually goes back to the roots to the midwinter muster, which started back in the 80s. And we have attendance regionally. We bring instructors in from all over the country. And again, firefighters from out the region, instructors from out the country, bring them in here to here in Pennington County. They put on training for our personnel and for other people that travel into this. This is a big deal as far as the training, the amount of dedication that goes on. I know Commissioner Drews made a comment a few years ago about the volunteer fire service being a full-time job, and it is. And these people put the time and effort into this to get better. And this is where your funding and you're being the core backbone of the fire service is where in the county, here's where the county really gets its payment back as far as what it's putting out. We do some grants. It's allowed through the one of our statute. This is a revolving fund, essentially, and it's based on a calendar. It goes out to the various fire departments. It's $2,500, and they're able to use this for anywhere from insurance purposes, maintenance, personal protective equipment, so on and so forth. And there's the departments that get this. It is a 3-year rotation. It was very time intensive prior to this. Worked with the legal office and made some changes on this, and this is working out very well for us, able to get the funding out to the personnel. And it's spread throughout the county. One of the things that you do support is the Class A foam. I want to stress there is no PFSA or fluorine in the foam that we do provide. So why are we providing foam, and what does it do for your firefighters? Foam is a securing agent, and we're able to apply it to both wildland fires and structure fires. The fire holds the fire, puts out the fire much quicker, and get our personnel back to their jobs. And it's very important as far as getting our people off the fire and getting them back. And the foam that you guys purchase works very well. We currently have some stored out at Quinn at the new fire station, so we have some of the stored permanently in the eastern part of the county, center part of the county, and then next year we'll be storing some in the western, more of it in the western part of the county. Just wrapping up as far as our community impact, is whether it's structure fires, wildland fires, motor vehicle crashes, technical rescues, do search and rescue operations, ice and water emergencies. It's everybody pulls together, and that's where the county provides the backbone for that through the county commission. And the support really, we're going to show you what some of the support does here for you. Just briefly, some things. This is the Murphy Ranch fire we had back in April, a structure fire in Black Hawk, and of course Quinn. This is where the funding that you provide for us as far as some of the funding for fires that is inside of the budget, we're able to support. Like Quinn had some problems with this fire in the middle of town here. They had some issues following up. We're able to use that funding. We need to be able to have access, specifically dealing with wildland fires, on county responsibility, have access to funding for that. Here's some of the pictures that Cody took for us. Community leadership, there's over 100 years represented here. It always amazes me the amount of volunteers that we have and the amount of time that they spend giving back to the community and back to Pennington County, to the people here in Pennington County. And again, over 100 years of service is represented right there in the one slide there. We do have a regional impact. The fire down on the left-hand side there was in Kyle. There was multiple rescues performed there. We were called that from our personnel. Were called that fire. We did provide support through our cascade system. And in my understanding, there's over 50 personnel or 50 civilians rescued from this building here. That's a regional impact, supporting our neighbors. And of course, most recently, the Curry fire there in Custer County, where our people were called immediately and assisted them in keeping it out of the city of Custer and away from other structures. We do have a national impact. This is just one example here where our personnel, Whispering Pines and Blackhawk, were called to California during the Palisades fire, and actually met up with Prince Harry and got to meet with him. But our personnel, for example, now we have people that were on fires in western Nebraska, and we have personnel right now on fires in Utah. So it's an example of where you've through the support of the county, you've built a fire service you guys need to be very proud of. It's local, regional, and national impact. Just to give you an example of this, the only place that the National Volunteer Fire Council, it's a large representation of fire rescue and EMS in the United States. The only place that they've actually had 2 of their national conferences has been here in Pennington County. Because what your volunteers are doing and the fire service that you support, they picked to have their another conference here. So we've actually supported 2 conferences here. So you do have an impact nationally. It gives you an idea of the quality of your fire service that you support here. We don't forget the people that went before us here, and unfortunately these names are all engraved on the firefighter memorial down in Pierre. We just want to remind you that the sacrifices that these personnel have made before us here. That's all I have as far as the presentation here.
Jerome,
Hope
we got
that helps
questions
kind of
for-
clear some things up.
Commissioner Durr?
Oh, excuse me.
Pull up his budget.
Mr. Chairman, if I could show those videos, I'm sorry. Could I show those quick little videos? I'm sorry about that. We just got a couple of. This first one is just a compilation that the videos that Cody put together for us. Give you an idea of some of the fire behavior here. And if you take a look at what's going on inside of this picture here, I'm going to stop here. Yeah, that's about a 10-story fire whirl. There's 4 of them on that fire. It's pretty significant fire behavior. This is a fire that was both a structure fire and an urban interface fire occurred out in Rapid Valley and prevented this from getting worse. One other one I'd like to show you. I want you to take a look at this one. This is the Coyote Flats fire occurred in March. The fire is back in the trees there. This is about 3 football fields away from the camera at this point in time. Take a look at the time, and the timestamp actually pulls out here. Gives you an idea, again, the conditions our personnel are facing and how quickly it comes across to where the truck is, where the camera's sitting here. Those flame licks there, they don't look like much, but those will kill you. Grass like that is the most dangerous field model you can be in.
Wow, the visibility just goes away.
So just a little over a minute, cost 3 football fields.
Mr. Chair, when I was a volunteer firefighter for Johnson Siding, there's an incident in Rapid City where one of their trucks got it up on Skyline Drive.
Fuel tank leaked, yeah.
Right, and that truck went up, and then next week later, my unit was up at Westbury Trails Fire. And the same thing happened. Before you know it, we had fire underneath the truck.
Cody, I appreciate again what Cody did. There was 3 separate videos he stitched together. It was all in the same sequence. And I asked him if he, can you put these together? And he started watching it, and I didn't think much of it. And then looked up, and Cody was his eyes were big as saucers, and he just couldn't get over what was going on. To see that in that context where the impact that goes on, that people aren't used to dealing with that, That's significant, so.
Commissioner Durr has a question on your budget or
Yes, sir.
some numbers there, or a comment, I guess.
Yeah, a couple. So you probably explained it, but go back to repairs and maintenance from 27,000 to 52,000.
Yeah, we have the work on the Scranton Mountain, and we have work to do out at Wall on those 2 tower sites.
All right. And then the question on the fire levy. So I was out at New Underwood last week on the ambulance discussion, and the fire levy came up. And so I'm in the New Underwood Fire District, so I paid the New Underwood Fire Levy. I also paid the county's fire levy. And then there was a discussion if the county fire levy overlaid New Underwood. And I haven't looked at it, but I'm told it does not. And so a discussion came up about, the county fire levy overlaying on top of other fire districts. And so is that allowed?
Yes, my understanding of it, when that was questioned to me, my understanding of it is that the county fire tax existed prior to the existence of the districts. And the county fire tax actually provides that, again, that backbone. As far as municipalities, there's quite an exchange that goes on between whether it's a district or not a district. 33% of our fire departments aren't in a district. As far as the back and forth that goes on there, for example, yes, do we provide services to the fire department that covers inside of New Underwood? Yes. But New Underwood also provides water and other support to that fire department both inside the city of New Underwood and outside the city of New Underwood. So there's back and forth on that.
Okay, I guess my question, then I'm just going to make it a broader question. So does the county fire levy overlay the entire county?
No, it does not overlay the municipalities. According to the statute, municipalities may join into
They would
that.
have to opt in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So our fire levy overlays, so if there's another taxing entity that's got a levy and they're providing fire service, and so we're overlaying all the other taxing entities outside of municipalities.
Yes, the fire districts, that's correct.
If you need to refer to the exact SDCL, that is 3431.3. And for the purposes of carrying out the provisions of the fire chapter, basically, the Board of County Commissioners may levy a tax in the county outside the limits of any municipality which provides fire protection service.
I have it on. Actually, I have it on here.
But does that mean that we can overlay that levy on other taxing entities?
Since it doesn't spell out other taxing entities, I believe it does.
All right.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Roskinek.
Very good presentation, Jerome.
Thank you.
I want to go back to the 4 items that you said needed to be addressed in 2027. So the cascade system in the trailer, that's got to be on a chassis truck, mass.
Yes, we'll bring that to you on the 7th. The commission office asked us to move that to the 7th for the request on that.
Yeah, I'm just.
That's been funded to buying fire engines, fire apparatus has turned into quite a trial, and there's even been congressional hearings on it. We'll bring it on the 7th, give you a full explanation of it. So the funding for 2026 is there, and then we'll ask for the funding for the rest of it next year.
Okay, and then there's the mass fit tester and the thermal imaging device and personal protective equipment. I don't know if that's for all the departments or
No,
specific.
that's for the county fire office. The set of gear that I have is 10 years old and it's wore out. The other thing that I did not put a slide in on is we do have to replace one of our portable radios for the office. And that's in there also.
Okay. I just wondered, well, we can discuss this on the 7th. What we need, what it's going to cost, and how we're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
Jerome, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Jordan, do I need to do anything here?
We're ready for Mr. Davis. Buildings and grounds.
Thank you for your service, Jerome.
Thank you, Jerome.
Thank you both.
On deck will be Sabrina, so. Good afternoon, Davis.
Good afternoon. Or
Good morning.
Direct and to the point always helps us out here, brother.
enough to give to each and then make a copy.
All right, yep, scan it in.
So just a little bit of info that I gave to Jordan. He's going to make a copy of it. It'll come a little later down the road here. It's some inflationary aspects that I have plugged into. I plugged it into last year's budget presentation, and I'm doing the same this year too, to kind of show you what we deal with from an inflation standpoint. So anyways, we'll just start off here. Davis Purcell, Director of Buildings and Grounds for Pennington County. I'm going to go through some of my narrative and some items here. Just talk about what we do, some of those key performance metrics that we have, some budgetary changes and items like that. We did hold the line on a lot of things, and I'll talk through that as well. So obviously, you know, a few of our key programs and services that we do here are all of our facility operations and maintenance. Essentially, we provide all the daily operations, preventative maintenance, repairs, emergency response, electrical, plumbing, building automation, life safety systems, and general building infrastructure and things like that. We have our custodial services, which obviously provide routine and sometimes specialized cleaning, especially in our jail facilities and things like that. We have our capital projects and construction management that we do in-house, which oversees planning, design, bidding, construction, and closeout of any county project related to our facilities and grounds. We do a lot of that coordination through the architects, engineers, and contractors that we work with. We also have, you know, in-house renovation capabilities that I made sure to list in my narrative there, that we're really trying to do a lot more things in-house, take away some of those contracted services if we can. That is still a work in progress that heavily relies on our trades positions as well, and keeping those filled. We also do all the detention facility or correctional facility maintenance and security support for those facilities. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Those are beasts of buildings, to put it lightly, and take up a lot of our time and energy. We also have all space planning and relocations. Most of those efforts are done through our office. Emergency facility response, again, pretty self-explanatory, but we staff our current hours that we are here on the grounds is Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. every day, and then we are on call, in the midnight hours and then on weekends as well. And then energy and utility management, we do try to, upgrade LED lights where it makes sense. When we have rooftop units, HVAC units, things like that to replace, we try to get a little more energy efficient when we can. Usually there's standards for that anyways that happen when we procure products and things like that. But we do out, look for those things as well. A few things that are going to drive some of the increases in our budget this year, utilities, so I'll go over that in a little bit. But again, just a few things to point out that over the last year and a half or so, we did successful transition from our downtown county administration building into this facility that we're in now without any hiccup, any disruption to services. We maintained, especially the treasurer's office and things like that, we maintained that operational aspect of those departments. We're also working through the Justice Center remodel, working through the jail infrastructure project and expansion project as well as we can, as well as maintaining all of our facilities and responding to any situation that arises. So I will go through some of the sort of our budget summary and some of the key changes. I'll kind of go line item by line item here real quick. Personnel, our staffing levels are held flat currently, so is overtime, until we potentially receive more direction and/or I just need a little more time to work through some of this. We are constantly analyzing our staff, our FTEs, to see if we can be more efficient. We did not fill a position that opened up out at our Juvenile Services Center. We have not filled that all year, but it's likely leaning that we need some sort of presence at that facility. It might not be full-time, but at least 2 or 3 days a week. We also had a gentleman retire from one of our care campus positions that we took over from the sheriff's office in January, that we probably won't be filling. We'll get to that as sort of we work through the budget season here. And then we had our project manager, Cindy Chapman, retire after 10 years. She retired in April. So we're still working through some of those things, and I'll talk a little bit more about how we're going to handle that moving forward. But anyways, vehicle insurance, we did have to increase that line item quite a bit. I don't believe last year we may not have accounted for, I want to say I don't think we accounted for some of the vehicles being newer. We replaced some vehicles, things like that. We have, full coverage on a lot of our newer vehicles, and that rate is much higher with the higher dollar value on our newer vehicles that we've replaced over the last few years. And then I also have some additional dollars in there for if we do add to our fleet. Contracts, repairs, maintenance agreements, and supplies, those lines are held flat. Again, we continue to maximize in-house work the best we can, but there are essential vendor contracts and specialized equipment systems that we just cannot work on or maintain ourselves, and so we do hire those out. Inventory, this line item is not reflecting accurately to, I believe, our submission last year, or maybe it was just placed in the wrong line item. But when we took over when we had that sheriff's office transition of 11 employees and sort of the operational expenses that went along with those, there is a lot of inventory. There was a large chunk of the sheriff's office inventory line item that was transitioned over to B&G, and I just don't think it was reflected in that line correctly, so we need to look at that. Fuel supplies and equipment supplies, that line item is going to remain stable, and then we'll get into utilities here. So these obviously represent the largest increases for fiscal year 2027, and I'm going to talk through each of these. And if you have any questions along the way, just let me know. So our electric line item increased by 21.58%, or $252,000. So Black Hills Energy has a rate increase that's most likely going to go into effect in August. And I also included at the very end of my submission here, I included sort of the article that explains that increase, when it's going to go into effect, exactly how much we can expect. And no, it was not brought up by them last year. Every year at this time, we ask each utility partner to give us their projections, as well as I do my own research. And but we have good contacts at MDU, Black Hills Energy, Rainbow Gas, Kiefer Sanitation, and obviously the water with the city and things like that. So we know what some of those increases are. But we do reach out to our representatives and make sure they're giving us their 2 cents. But Black Hills Energy rate increase is approximately 25%, and that's beginning in August. I did send out a memo to the commissioners, I don't know, earlier this year when I first heard about it. So obviously it is going to hurt our current year budget. We're just going to kind of see where it goes. If we can maintain a little cooler temperatures this year, then I'm not going to say we're going to be all right, but utilities fluctuate greatly dependent upon weather, especially electric. Yep. Especially
Hopefully
electric.
we'll
So
call us first. I'm sorry.
Nope, you're good. You're good. So anyways, it's a major increase. It's a huge impact to the county. You know, our line item electric was increased last year because we weren't going to get reimbursements from the sheriff's office, which now those utilities fall directly on us when we did that transition. We got reimbursements from the CARE campus and some other, I'd have to look exactly what those reimbursements were at what building. But I'm increasing that line item about 21.5%, like I stated earlier. Because of the fluctuations, I don't necessarily think we need the full 25% in there. But again, we can work through that. Utilities are just very, very hard to determine what's going to happen because they're so weather dependent.
Well, you got two buildings now too. I mean, I can go back 2 years and you can see when you didn't have the building. So you've got about $1 million extra in utilities adding this building on.
Say that one more time.
Go back to, when we go back to 2026 actual, or 2025 actual, 1.1 was utilities. And today we're budgeting for 2.3.
I don't think, is that 1.1?
Let me see if I can pull up the line
actual.
items for
Yeah,
you.
we need to look at that. I'd have to dig into that a little deeper.
I mean, looks-
Chair, I'm not
so
sure
the-
exactly what that
So
reflection is.
since we added this building, we've added about $1 million a year in utilities.
It shouldn't, that's not necessarily true. I can make sure to have a better breakdown of last year's. So I see, okay, so last year's, that's the actual. and then
Last
what
year's
we
we're looking at
adopted.
2026, basically.
Yeah, and I know some of that was dependent on this transition with the sheriff's office, but I guess what I want to preface this with is when I'm walking through each one of these utilities currently, we're utilizing, when I did these calculations in May, we were utilizing 34% of that electric line item. That was basically right where we were at in the year. It was like, I think it was like 37% through the year, and we were utilizing 34. Garbage has a much larger increase than expected just because we weren't quite sure how this transition with the sheriff's office was going to go. But the amount of garbage that is, or services that are used is massive in the
Big rate
jail.
increases at the water department and at the garbage department too.
Yeah.
Landfill did, so.
Yep. Natural gas, we are holding steady as of now, even though we did utilize up to the time I calculated it about how far we are through the year. But gas can vary heavily dependent upon colder weather. Water, so we actually figured out what the issue was here because as I stated in my line item, we had a water expenditure, it says are currently under additional review due to reporting discrepancies, which is somewhat true. There was a meter that was not functioning in our energy plant, which utilizes the majority of our water. So that meter has since been replaced and we'll start to see that reporting. But again, I don't see an increase there in that line item. Another thing that some of the reflections of the actual spent in 25 were there were some major increases in water. So water every year is going up by 10% through 2028. That is also at the end of the report that you can see there. Gas typically doesn't have that big of a jump. And then some miscellaneous utilities are increasing by 1,800. So capital equipment, unless you guys have any questions, you could stop me.
I was going to say, if you wanted a little bit more history here, I don't have anything pretty to show up on the screen yet.
No,
but
I'm
we've got a
fine.
history of utilities. The budget, even for those years where it was 1.1 actual, 2025's approved budget for utilities was still 1.8 million. And so it's because it's so volatile. It's because, you know, it's,
Thank you,
we
Jordan.
budget more. And so you're looking at 2 million. It may come in less than that, but it also may be exceeding that. So
And I'm fine with all this because we do.
Yeah, and yep, the actual for 25, also that meter we found out was we believe it went down in February of last year. That's how long ago it was, which is a significant amount of water. So again, just some things that it does fluctuate heavily, but I agree, sometimes the budgeted dollars are well under, or sorry, the actual dollars are well under what's budgeted. But when I did my calculations this year, they are trending towards us utilizing 90 to 95% of our budget, or our utility expenditures this year. So
I think
anyways,
we're good with all that. I think one thing that's unique about what you've done is because you actually added several FTE when we transitioned the police department, the sheriff's office into your budget for personnel, because your personnel budget's increased, but yet you probably have less employees than you've ever had. So.
Yeah, I mean,
but
we
you
do the
took
best
on-
with what we can.
You took on
Yep.
extra, so I
Yep.
mean, that's a whole nother conversation. So I'm gonna Jerry, did you have any questions?
I do have a few more things. Can I just touch on real quick? And I won't take up too much time, but there are a few things. Capital equipment, I held that line item where it is because we do want to add to some of our equipment and fleet. We're not requesting any FTE positions, but one thing that, again, if you haven't read through this, perfectly fine, but I ask that you do. I am asking to at least discuss some more competitive wages for our skilled trades. That is mainly our carpenters, our electricians, our plumbers, our HVAC guys. We are, obviously, if you pay attention to the construction market, those are the most sought after, the most highly valued positions right now, especially in our region. And, you know, I think the narrative of like, well, you know, we're government, we're never going to meet, you know, private level wages, that's fine, but we at least need to hold that line as they continue to go up, instead of, because a lot of times it seems to go like this, instead of us being under and staying at least competitive. But those positions are a massive, massive trade-off. And, you know, I have some examples of that for invoicing and things like that when we do not have a plumber or electrician in-house. So,
Yeah, that's a crazy number.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, we had,
So where are we at with wages on those?
they're in the low 30s an hour. And market, I mean, is it competitive? Sometimes, dependent upon, I mean, you're usually in the low 30s when you're just starting out as a journeyman. But we have experience that exceeds that drastically. We have folks in those positions with 20 to 30 years of experience. So anyways, capital requests, you know, I laid out all those capital projects for you guys. We can look through those. It's not all of them. It's really just a snapshot for each year. There are, I would say, a mountain of requests, not even requests, sorry, but projects that come up each year that we cannot foresee, and those things are, can weigh heavy on our budget. And like that underline sentence says, is the scale and expense of some of these projects frequently exceed available annual funding, and that is true. But we're working with what we got, and we're doing the best we can. So I can skip over a few things. One of the big things I want to talk about, though, is sort of the jail project, whether it's an expansion or an infrastructure project. I really urge the commission to give some direction. I understand that the sheriff has indicated that there may be grant funding opportunities. It seems like he just mentioned that yesterday in his presentation. That's the first I have heard of that, and that's obviously exciting. I don't know what that dollar amount looks like, but again, I'm sort of at a point where I will not move forward with any design or a design bid build project without a funding source in mind, whether that means you tell us a dollar amount or you give us some sort of direction to say, here's the line, don't go over it, because the county, even though it was recently done, does have a history of designing projects that never move forward. So I don't want to continue to fall into that same pattern, so I just ask that. And again, I have no idea what those grant funding opportunities look like, but when they are here, we need to move forward. We are reaching a point where deferred infrastructure replacement in those facilities can no longer happen. And one other thing that is currently not in my budget, but again, we're working through some things on what contracts we really need to hold on to and which ones we can get rid of, so I'm not going to be asking for any sort of increase here. We may not fill our project manager position. We can have more conversations about that later. But what I do want to do is I want to get some estimating software for our department. I can do a lot of that myself, and I do. It's mainly just market research. especially with the Rapid City area, we trend a lot higher for our costs for lumber, materials, steel, all sorts of stuff. But there are some things that I want to be able to do. What that will help us with is essentially making sure we're competitive and in our estimates, and when we go out to bid, that I have a defensible recommendation that I can bring you to say this falls in line with where I think it is, because sometimes, and I'm not accusing anyone, but sometimes with government projects, contracts, things like that, we do get taken advantage of. So I mean, I can keep going, but you guys can stop me whenever you want. But one last thing I want to say is part of the trade position argument, 50% of our service requests are trades related. Plumbing, electrical, HVAC, carpentry. So I just want to throw that out there. Yeah, I'll stand for any questions.
We're making a lot of progress, Davis, as you know, that, and we're on board with, I mean, not doing anything unless we have a funding. I mean, that's just common sense. I mean, we're out $7 million because of that jail project. So I don't want to go down that road again, but I think Commissioner Durr is getting ready to pull his mic up. You're good? Okay.
Right now, I'm gonna,
Yeah, so, yep.
Oh, yeah, and if I could, real quick, let me go over that. I didn't mean to miss that, but the inflationary stuff is important because, again, I am holding lines flat, but I can go over this real quick.
I think what would work good for us, because we just got it, is allow us to review it and then communicate with you,
bet.
about it, because we're always, it seems like if we're talking to anybody, it's you most of the time, so I'm good with that.
Okay.
and it's our, we have, it's gonna be, this budget, it's gonna be a discussion all summer, so.
Yeah, and the only sentence I'm going to read from here is when you look at year-to-date for April, we're trending at about 4%, and then 2027 forecast is 3.8 to 4.5%. And the reason I'm pointing that out is because this is this is for renovations, maintenance of buildings, things like that, and it's also supplies and materials, which
Davis,
is a
there's
lot of
one
what
thing
we
I
do,
would ask
so.
you to do for me as we move forward and kind of make a quick summary of all the employees that you mentioned that you didn't fill, and then the ones that you got, and so we can kind of understand where we're at with all.
Yeah, I can give you, a couple of years of history and show you where we're at.
Yeah,
Yep.
just a little bit of
Absolutely.
summary on that, so when we look at your payroll, we understand why it went where it went, so, and
Okay.
some of the changes you made there, so we appreciate it. We're
Yep.
done with you, sir. And next up
you.
to bat is gonna be the auditor, and she was texting me from the back room trying to make me rush you, Davis. Hello, Miss Sabrina.
Sabrina Green, Pennington County Auditor. Make this short and sweet. I don't have a lot. We did do some reduction in the election and the auditor's budget. Most of everything we do in the auditor's office is ran by statute. So I did give just kind of a narrative of everything that we do in the office, what type of money we pay out and collect, and where we stand in liens. So any questions that you have for me?
The only one question I have for you is, did you make a line item for hand counting for Commissioner Durr? I'm just kidding.
No, not kidding. I mean, I did have a visit with her, and I did get some calls after the commission meeting. And Sabrina and I talked Monday, whatever.
Who would have been Monday?
Yeah, whatever. So anyway, and then getting back to it, because, I mean, I did get some calls about, we could do hand counting at the precinct, and you wouldn't need the tabulators, and I'm like, no, the whole point of doing like the governor's race to have the opportunity to do a recount would be utilize the machine and then do 100% hand count. And we discussed doing spot counting of precincts. And I'm like, no, I would like to see, and not it's done at the precinct level, but we do a recount in the auditor's office of all of them.
After the election and then.
Yeah, after you run it through the tabulators, and then you're basically doing an audit and then do a hand count, because I don't believe
selecting a precinct or two, which, and saying, let's check those, and again, I mean, it's interesting, the race for mayor in Sioux Falls is 2 votes.
2 votes, and they had 5 votes that they're reviewing today. So I don't know if anybody's heard anything.
Yes, it's still won by 2 votes.
So, oh my God.
That's crazy.
You're glad you're not the auditor there. I could see it. But so.
Okay, so to answer the question on a post-election audit, so in statute, a post-election audit is for a primary and a general election, and you draw, we would draw 3 precincts and hand count those. I'm currently working with SDPAA and our state's attorney because of statutes of unlocking our ballots after they've been sealed. We can only open them at certain times.
And that's the point I was making to Jerry when you called me and I had to hold my phone out here. So I'm glad I handed that off to Jerry.
So I am looking on it. I don't have an answer quite yet on that, so.
Right.
Perfect. Did you have any more questions, Jerry? Or?
No.
Sabrina, thank you. And we know you're kind of in a situation that you're trying to figure out, so we get that. But the elections went well. As far as I know, I didn't get any complaints. I mean, we had some construction stuff going on. You called ahead of time. You were preemptive on those things, and so nobody really had any reason to complain about anything. And I think our counts went well, our recount went well. So appreciate it. So we'll move on.
All right. Have
Thanks.
a good one.
We're going to move on to human resources, which is in a weird situation. So.
Yeah, so there's not a lot of information here on human resources, unfortunately. Again, absent an HR director, we didn't have anyone really to build the full budget narrative here. I am working currently with HR. Yeah, I know, surprise, surprise. I'm working with HR staff. And so we are trying to put together at least a feasible budget that is going to move over any of the costs from the sheriff's office into the HR budget. We're going to capture all the technology they currently have, and we'll have a more detailed presentation. It just was not, unfortunately, able to be ready for these budget hearings.
That's fine, Jordan.
And so right now, what you're seeing from the initial requests, I can kind of pop it up here, but it's not really going to be helpful.
I think the only person that expected anything was Jerry. So.
Gotcha. And so I failed Jerry. I understand.
We'll let him down softly.
We have a couple of numbers here because there was some concern that software costs were going to go up. It looks like not at the moment. It seems like we're pretty well budgeted. And so essentially what we're looking at with the sheriff's office and other staff like that is the shift of where personnel is going to end up. That's going to be the big thing. And then also the shift of software into the appropriate budgets. It's not really going to be much of an increase, but for the total budget, I should say, but individual budgets are going to be.
Yeah, because we have quite a few shifts going on.
Yes.
I mean, we had shifts with buildings and grounds and the sheriff's department, and then we had shifts with the sheriff's department and human resources. We had shifts with the commission office,
Exactly.
human resources, all these. So if there's a way that we can synopsis that somehow, so
I absolutely will be doing that for the July 7th meeting.
we've got some. We got, like Commissioner Durd mentioned earlier, that we'll be having this conversation throughout the summer. I just want the commissioners to be able to understand why some of these budgets may be and should be different.
Yeah.
With ups and downs or ebbs and flows or whatever about some of these different.
Yeah, and it's going to be because of actual board action with this budget that it's going to change slightly in the personnel. We moved payroll out. It was budgeted for HR for 2026. We moved it out. That would have been 2 employees that went to the commission office. However, then we moved 2 employees from the sheriff's office into the budget, and we moved out. So exactly, and so things are just kind of shifting.
Yeah, having that little flow chart or something, or just something real simple that they can understand.
The plan is for the next meeting for July 7th, we are going to have a personnel presentation where we talk about here's where we're currently at, here are the actions that have been taken so far in 2026, here's what's anticipated for 2027. We'll include the FTE requests because you guys have heard from several department heads and elected officials that they're looking maybe to increase, and we'll have all of that information prepared in one presentation.
I mean, this whole process, Jordan, has been super fantastic. I mean, I'm glad we're at this point, and we're very few tweaks, really. I mean, in thought process that we need to achieve, but it's just that until, I mean, we get some of the other things ironed out with getting another another person in your office to help with a lot of the stuff that we're telling, Jordan's gonna do it. When we're saying Jordan's doing it, we're meaning that the commission office is doing it. We got great staff in there. We got my favorite payroll person in there and my favorite assistant director in there. And and hopefully we'll add to that with someone else that's is competent and organized. So when we say we're putting it on you, we're meaning we're putting it on your office.
How many applicants did you get for that position?
As of yesterday, when we were reviewing the applications, we had 62 applicants for that position. Now, admittedly, we had to kind of toss out about half of them because didn't include a resume, didn't really qualify for the position, but still, I mean, that is a significant number of applicants, so we were pretty stoked to see that.
That is, I think, that's a reflection of everything that's happening, I think, all throughout, our whole objective of making the county a great place to work and changing the environment to, we want you to enjoy your job here and enjoy your time here. We're offering great benefits and, we understand we're not trying to compete with the private sector. We're giving people an opportunity, but, to be working in an environment pays well, has good benefits, and they get to work with Commissioner Durr on top of it and a decent wage at the same time. So.
Absolutely. All right, so we can move past human resources because, again, there's not really much to say on that. For the commission office, I do have a budget narrative that I've kind of prepared. I'll just really quickly hit the chain. Oh, yeah, absolutely. We can take a quick break.
Yeah, I'll grab a cup of coffee.
All right, we'll take a quick break.
We're back. Thank the audience for being patient with us and get a cup of coffee to regenerate myself. So,
right, because of
Jordan, I guess we're on you and you have the floor. So.
Okay, so for the commission office, I only wanted to highlight a couple of things here that I had already put in the budget narrative, and that's the key changes basically that we're looking at between 26 and 27. Mm-hmm. So of course, we've already approved that there are going to be 6 full-time positions within the office: the director, the finance and policy analyst, the communications manager, administrative coordinator, payroll administrator, and payroll specialist. The payroll positions are still up for discussion during the budget process. They will be presented as such. We will include them in the commission office budget until such time as you direct that it may be moved or it may stay. So that's kind of the way that we're going to approach this moving forward. Is it has to land somewhere because these are going to be positions we need no matter what. We'll just kind of earmark them for the commission office, and then when the board has the discussion to say, well, should this move out of the commission office?
Right, it was the proper move at the time that it was necessary, but we ended up with a really great payroll person, so I'm excited about that.
And so we technically, at the time that I presented some of the budget numbers, we had 2 positions open, and so we kind of budgeted for, even though I kept it flat to 2026, as we go into July 7th's meeting, we may still have to have it budgeted for insurances at an employee plus 1, kind of middle of the scale, not a family plan, not a single plan, and we'll go middle of the road just to kind of see what that
employee
increase will
plus
be.
1.
But it depends on what they elect.
Because right now we don't have that.
We do. We have an employee plus 1, we have a family and a single. What we don't have is we're going to move to a 4-tiered plan, so it's going to be family, or employee plus spouse, or employee plus children, and then single. So that's going to be a 4-tiered plan that we've been looking at, and we should have that information next month, I believe. Okay. We did receive, by the way, I'll just kind of jump out of order here, we did receive a pre-renewal kind of estimate of what our 2027 costs would be for Wellmark, and they're recommending a 6.5% increase. And so that will likely find its way into the talking points when we talk about personnel as to whether or not we want to do that. But we've also looked at, because that does not include changing the plan. So if we change to a 4-tier option, it may affect what they anticipate our claims to be. And then if we also want to talk about the percentage of what the county funds versus what the employee funds, that's all going to be part of a presentation that we're going to have in
that'll
July.
Be a presentation to the commission from Wellmark themselves or from you?
We will likely see if we can tap them for it, for sure, because of the fact that the only other people who can speak to it is Probably myself and.
Right, but I
And,
appreciate that.
yeah.
I mean, that they,
Oh, they're more than willing to try to provide the
right, I mean,
information.
and we can get our costs under control.
Yeah.
And they're, yes. Yeah, our reps are good and they're professionals and they know what they're doing and they know what we're looking for, so that's awesome, so, okay.
So I had mentioned under operations here that many of our operations had decreased from 25 to 26's budget. I think we're going to see a couple more decreases because they were bumped up for 25's budget for the move to concourse. We just didn't need that budget, and so we decreased it in 26's budget. And as I'm looking at our expenditures, we're running very lean. We have to because we don't really have a lot of leeway since we moved personnel into the budget. We're going to be obviously for 26 in the red over personnel, so we're going to need some sort of supplement or contingency transfer towards the end of the
We
year.
understood that going into it.
Yep,
so.
we knew that was going to come, and so that's just kind of administrative because it also means that that amount is not being expended
Somewhere
in the
else.
HR budget, and so it's not an increase to the budget, it's an increase to the department's budget.
Okay.
And so software, I did have some figures kind of calculated out for this, and so we have currently in the budget for 26, we had kind of bumped up our software. We were going to bump it down, but now it looks like we may have to bump it back up just slightly again because of, I don't remember if you guys had looked at, Cody Wiseman in my office hadn't had a chance to actually present the presentation, but we are going to be required by the ADA basically to have our website accessible. That means all the PDFs, all the attachments, everything on it is going to have to be accessible. So we looked internally to see if that's something that staff could just absorb and try to manage, and we found that it's probably going to be too much of a workload as we're adding documents and checking for compliance, that we're going to probably have to contract through a third party to analyze our website, and that company actually does work with our website company as well, so they're already working with
Do you
them.
think that'll be at some point available with AI? I mean, it seems like that's a
I
perfect
imagine
fit.
a lot of it is
artificial
already, I
intelligence.
think the company probably utilizes and leverages AI. And so it's going to be something that kind of crawls the website and looks for whether or not we're compliant to the new rules, the federal guidelines. And so there was a possibility we were going to reduce software, but it looks like we kind of have to bump that a little bit back up because I think that was up around $9,000 to $10,000 annually to make sure that we are maintaining compliance with the new ADA requirements.
Hopefully, maybe we could at some point squeeze our legislators to get us to be able to post our minutes and stuff outside of the newspaper. Maybe we could compensate some money for that.
Yeah, that actually, that is on my list because as we look at the publishing budget that we have for the commission office is currently publishing, or it holds all the costs for publishing for even other departments. Not all, but I mean, like when highway does a bid opening, that comes out of the commission budget. When, the auditor's office does liquor licenses, the commission handles and processes that kind of stuff. And so I don't think they have to necessarily be bumped back, but as we look at that total amount, I think, like you said, if we get a legislative change where we do not have to publish this every single
There's so
time.
many people that can't even get access to some of these publications.
Right.
But everybody can get access to our email, and with our new website, you can opt in to get anything you want basically on there. So.
And most recently, they added into legislation that if you are publishing minutes somewhere, then that publication, the legal publication, also has to post it to the state's website, the SD Public Notices. And so this stuff already goes to a central repository. Why are we expending, and I'll give you an example, for let's say the minutes for last month's meeting, I believe, with all the vouchers and everything that we've got, so many lines, it was $500 for one paper, and we have to publish in 3. And so that's for one meeting, and we have to do that for every meeting that we have. It's intense. It's intense, and it's budget intensive.
No, and that was a discussion we brought up a few months ago, and I believe Gary Drews took a note of it, Commissioner Drews, for the association. And I think it's probably something, I'm not sure when our deadline is to respond to the County Commission Association on resolutions.
I think we have a month or so still.
So we should probably have that on the July 7th meeting about what we want to propose of legislative changes. And that is one of them.
I agree. We just have it posted on our website because everybody has access to the website. Everybody that wants it can have access to it. And if somebody wants us to mail it to them or whatever, they can opt in or something. You know,
Right, exactly. And we
email it
definitely
to
could do
them.
that. And we are looking, once we're fully staffed again, to kind of in our free time expand the amount that we currently have on Diligent as well of past meetings, because we have to kind of build those in the software, but I think it's going to be so much of a benefit to the public to be able to go to one spot and search
Right.
historical meetings, packets, agendas, all that kind of stuff. It's not something we've ever really truly provided to the public. We were utilizing Granicus before we moved to Diligent, but Granicus really wasn't a public-facing site, so people only had the option to go to our old website and click on an overall packet and click on an overall agenda. They weren't able to search and try to find something within that agenda. That had to be done, and even in our own office for some of those older meetings, it has to be done manually, where we just go through and start looking through PDFs, we start looking through Word documents, and that can be a little bit tedious when someone says, hey, do you remember that thing that happened in 2016? Remember that one resolution? And it's like, I don't know when and where that is, but that we usually try to track that stuff down, and it is a little bit laborious, but if we can get that stuff uploaded into the technology we currently pay for, we can fully leverage that software and try to make it a better service for transparency and just consistency to the public. So
Okay,
that's-
we'll continue on if you're not done.
Actually, that pretty much covered everything that I've got, because again, operationally, we're pretty slim in the commission office. It's software that's our biggest expense, and then
And I
personnel.
get that, but I mean, I think that, you know, some of the conversations today we've had have been about software. And I don't feel comfortable with anybody making any decisions
Right.
that aren't involving the conversation with Tyler and Tyler Technologies. I mean,
Exactly.
it was a decision I'm hopefully that we're proud of making, I guess, that took place prior to my being here. But I mean, if that's the case, then let's try to bring things together. I know you're working on, and Mike's working on bringing the contracts together. Still, I know they're working on the printers and all the fax machines, all that stuff.
Yep, lease agreements,
That's
yeah.
important, because sometimes people think they need something they don't need. And I was telling one of the guys that he actually sells copiers and printers, I said, you know, when I built my house, my first time I built a house, and I moved into it, and I'm like thinking, I wish the contractor would have said, hey, why don't you do this? Or, hey, why don't you do that? So I'm thinking, if we, you know, we put this out for an RFP and we get a bid back or whatever, and we find someone that we want to work with, I think then we should allow them to also make their own interview to see, you know, because some of these people have been in business for a long time.
Right.
And with a lot of big companies, and it's like, they can point out, you know, you may want to do this, not that, you know? So that being said, and then obviously, you know, any of the software changes, I don't really, if that conversation comes up again, that we work with the office, you know, the commission office and everybody, to see how that fits into the whole grand picture of things. The other thing is, and I'm sure Commissioner Durr's going to touch on this, because we just had this conversation about, we don't have a balanced budget, so it's all fine and everybody's presented, but I'm telling everybody, we got some ground to make up. Somewhere along the line, we're going to have to make some ground up to balance the budget and not increase the budget from last year. So that's my perspective on it, but I'm going to allow Commissioner Durr, because he has some comments to make, I'm sure, so.
No, again, I mean, it's good information, and it's easily digestible to go through, you know, the budget information and look at that. And I'm not sure you have that calculated, that what would the deficit be in the general fund?
From this, I don't have that exactly calculated, but it is going to be close to the deficit, because a lot of the restricted funds are somewhat self-sustaining this year. EM, obviously, we know is not, but it's not much from the general fund. So we're looking at about a $5.4 million deficit from revenues to expenditures. It's likely that's going to come from the general fund. That's where the majority of it is going to be budgeted from.
And one of the differences is in this budget cycle this year that we don't have to legislative change, we don't have to hold back the 5%.
That is correct.
So otherwise it'd be 10+ million.
Yes.
That it would show as applied cash into various funds. So we took a whack at it last year at about we talked about it in the last couple of months, and Commissioner Roskinek had asked me when I talked about it, wanted to get to a balanced budget. And he was like, are you wanting to do that in 1 year or, over a couple of years? And so we took a crack at it last year, didn't grow the budget. And it's just kind of a different philosophy. And so some of the conversations I heard were about, additional staff. If I had additional staff, we could do A, B, and C. Or if we hired 6 more people, we could open up, a spot at JSC, and then we could do contract. And I think we could net about $100,000, maybe $300,000 in revenue. And this is kind of a point, and I guess it's one the board's going to have to decide. But I don't think the county government should be going out and looking for ways to make revenue. And again, if you can offset your operational cost in some of those areas, yes. But let's just talk about if we add 6 staff in one department and you look at just saying, here is the cost of the FTEs and here's the insurance, here's the full up cost. Okay. All of adding these additional staff and growing the departments, and increasing the staff, not only is it the personnel cost, it's an operational risk. And so we're self-funded. I'm just going to give an example. If you hire 6 people and one of those has a high dollar medical claim, you don't factor that in, but what does that do to our self-insurance fund? And so, there's all kinds of things to think about. And this goes back to one thing, and I've said it, but I'm just kind of tired of hearing about, well, the county is growing, the county is growing. Our budget has far outpaced the taxpayer growth. And so the growth that we're getting in the last few years are not those people, in my mind, that are, coming in here and have grown since COVID that are utilizing county resources. On our infrastructure, yes, we're having, more utilization of some of our areas. We have development that is pushing into different areas in Rapid Valley, Box Elder East, some of those things. But, we're not in getting back to it, and it'll be something we'll talk about. But it was kind of my additional people moving in. So what part of the populace moving in the last 5 years are in our court system? So if we say that, that was kind of my question yesterday to the state's attorney. So when you say that one attorney is managing 1,000, has a caseload of 1,000 misdemeanors, okay, out of those 1,000 cases, then how are they being handled? How many of those go away? How many are being, actually mitigated or taken care of? Because it's an incomprehensible amount of workload for some of these offices. I get that. But it comes down to, just like with Judge Linngren coming in this morning, that was the best 5 minutes of a discussion talking about changes that we're trying to make. But if we just think that we're going to continually hire staff and increase budgets and we're going to resolve these issues, I did appreciate what the sheriff had to say. It's just like the care campus. That budget's over $5 million. Could the county get out of that business and, just turn some of this stuff over to a nonprofit or to another organization, City of Rapid City? The highest utilization of the care campus and those facilities are right here in Rapid City. And so I think instead of county government looking at how we can do some of these things, we have to get back to the basics and say, we have to do public safety. We have a challenge with the ambulance service and EMS and providing that out to our rural residents. And again, government getting down to what are the services the government needs to provide that the public can't provide for themselves. And I think we have a tendency over, and it's taken a while to get here, but we have an overreach. And so if you say you want to get back to a balanced budget and get in that direction, how do you cut without taxing? So that $5 million deficit, that's flat with no accounting of additional tax revenue.
That is true, yes.
And so if we were to take, let's just say if we were to be on track with what we adopted last year. We took growth but not CPI. And let's just say this year we took growth and CPI. Do we have an estimate as to what that number would be?
Not yet. I don't have growth figures. That's why I didn't present anything with that. I will have that later this week, and so I can make sure that's presented, because I'm not sure if it's going to be 2%, 3%, 1%. It's tough to guess. I know what CPI is, and I know what our banked CPI is.
The 2.5 on
Yep,
CPI.
2.5 for CPI. You guys banked your 2.9% CPI last year, so you've got those that you could potentially increase taxes. But again, that could be an increase in, people's property taxes, or depending on the valuation, it may not end up in an increase. It all depends on where the levy falls.
If we enact the 0.5 cent, that directly offsets property tax.
It does. It absolutely does, but not for 27 likely. It's going to have to be for 28.
I thought they were going to do an upfront payment or something, but.
You're allowed to maybe potentially budget for it, and then as it comes in, you can use it to offset, but then you run the risk of, well, what if it falls short? Because sales tax is not as constant as property tax.
Yeah, but we wouldn't have to run, we wouldn't have to use it all the first year, because I think it's going to be relatively significant. I'm thinking,
Yeah, and in my mind, it makes more sense because the taxes are tax year 27, payable 28, collect the sales tax for 27, and offset it in 28.
well, whatever you collect in sales taxes right now, I mean, once you enact it, you get it.
Yep.
It's just paid. What is it paid quarterly, or is it paid?
I can't remember if it's quarterly or half a year.
It's the same thing where they go down in the basement, count the money, and go, here's your share. Okay,
Yeah. And then, and again, that's with the one that we have is just personnel wages flat.
Yes.
And so getting back to the sheriff's discussion about going back to a 96%, that's why it would be helpful too on July 7th, just to run that budget worksheet to show where everybody's currently at in their budget by department, so we can look at how we're trending for the first half of the fiscal year.
Absolutely.
And I'm assuming that if we did a COLA and a step increase, that would be in the neighborhood of about 3 million.
That's probably safe, yeah. 3 million, that's pretty typical. If you went with a 4% increase, basically.
Yeah, which we did last year.
Yep, that's about what you'd be looking at.
And then and then again, you lay that on top of that, so now we're at 8 million.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would have to go back like we did last year and then say, okay, in those departments, let's cut 4% or 5% of the personnel. So.
Right.
So anyway, yeah, it's becoming a wash without making some hard decisions about where we see or think that we could cut, so.
Right. Well, we made a lot of progress, Jordan, so I mean, it's the first one when I was completely disarrayed with what was happening, so to where we are today, and the nice thing too is everybody that came in was very in tune to what we expected to get, and what I think it actually put them more in tune to their own budgets too, also having more control over them and going, okay, some of this stuff makes sense now, what they're trying to do. And you're right about the judge. I mean, that was awesome to hear that she came in with her marching orders of what she was intending to do. And wow, if that would help us into the future getting,
Yeah, it's a financial, I mean, again, if we can, because again, public safety is our biggest expense, but if we can get through that and see the benefit of what she's doing, and again, she spoke to it stating that, court-appointed attorney, and again, it's not just, it's everything that we do, housing in the jail, it's the transports, it's the medical expense of just keeping these people, they should be through the system, and it's not an understatement when she says one individual could have 15 different charges between felonies and misdemeanors that have never been adjudicated, and then again, you think about that, I mean, that is, and then putting all of that individual in front of one judge with all of those cases, that's huge.
Yeah, that's huge. Because, and like they said, the no-shows will go down because even the person that committed all the crimes, and sometimes they're all related to one thing or another that are closely knit. So I mean, if she can pull that off, I mean, we're willing to hear to help her, and I mean, it's the way it should be. I think she gets that. So that's a hell of an opportunity to help, with the jail itself and with all the costs involved. So I'm very comfortable with where we're at today, Jordan, moving forward and understanding that we have some work to do to make the numbers fit. So there's going to be some tough decisions, and I hope people work together with those decisions and understand that that's the reality of it. We don't have a limitless amount of money, or, unfortunately, we have like Commissioner Durr said, we've outpaced the growth of the community with the cost of our budgets, and I have no interest in doing that moving forward. My interest is, doing the best job we can for the taxpayers and still deliver the services. We heard from our treasurer that she's excited about opportunity to get our wait lines down and get, her opportunity to make things work more. I think that sometimes they were given too much to people that, come in once or twice a year, and then now that they'll have a clearer understanding, that when they have this information, they come in with it all up front. And, we just need to get those 12 lines opened up all the time, and I think that's the only way they're ever gonna resolve the lines. But, the people pay for the service and they expect it. It's a revenue source that is significant and relevant to the highway department, to the county, to the taxpayers, and they have a level of service that they expect, not only there, but throughout the county. So we've got the people in place to do that. We're working on our HR now, and we're going to be in a good position in short order. And from Jerry and my perspective, we're kind of like things done yesterday, but you play this game long enough and you realize it just doesn't happen that way. But we're getting everybody on board with our thought process of why, and they're starting to see finally why we're doing what we're doing. I mean, at first it was like, I'm sure there was a whirlwind to them that they were wondering if we even had the ability to get this done, but we do, and we have the ability to make the county a great place to work for all of our employees. They go home on Sunday night and they can look forward to coming to work on Monday morning and see Jordan's smiling face. And so that being said, I have nothing else to say other than to, if Jerry has something, I'll adjourn the meeting, and I'll try to send Ron a message that he doesn't need to come back. So I guess we're adjourned, right?
Yeah, we are.
Motion and a second. We agree we're done.
As good as we can. We need a third, so you're a yes.
Quorum not met, so yeah, you guys can adjourn.
All right.
Not a problem.
Thank you, sir.